Joe. Every morning I clean Sydney Road and some of the surrounding streets. I often work with our crew, who are a great bunch. They're hard-working but also up for a laugh, and part of what makes me get out of bed each day. It's really quiet first thing, but there's always a lot to clean. Sometimes it's a bit of a mess and there's rubbish scattered around. I clean the footpath, the street furniture, the bins and remove graffiti off public buildings. I like it. It keeps me busy. It feels pretty satisfying to know that at the end of each day I've made Sydney Road look a little better for everyone who lives, works and visits here. Cleaner streets make it a nicer place to shop too, and that helps our local traders. And as everyone starts their day and the shop's open, I get to meet some lovely community members and their dogs. Everyone knows Sydney Road is legendary. We should all show it some love.
Libraries are the heart of our community. They connect us, inspire us, and support lifelong learning.
Whether it's borrowing books, thank you,
learning how to use computers,
getting creative in our makerspaces,
or simply having a welcoming space to belong, the library is the place to be.
We're always evolving our spaces, collections and services to meet the diverse needs of our wonderful community.
I love my library. It's a safe place to be, it's inclusive. I always find something new that interests me. It's not just a place for books anymore.
A library has something for people of all ages.
And is a place of discovery, events and learning at every stage of life.
It's your library. Visit us today.
Did you know that Merri-bek is home to a diverse community where more than 95 languages are spoken? That's why we offer information on council services in your language. If you've received a rates notice that you don't understand, would like to request a new bin, or have another question for council, we can help. We have free in-person and phone interpreters who can help you communicate with staff at council in your language. To request an interpreter, simply call 92401111 and ask one of our customer service staff to organize one for you. You can also request an interpreter at one of our customer service centers, libraries, or maternal and child health centers. At Merri-bek, we're proud of our diverse community and we want to make sure everyone can access our services. For more information about our language services, please visit our website.
Wheel Sisters came about after some women in Fawkner approached us, wanting to learn to ride bikes and also find other women from their own community to ride with, including women who might ride in hijab or an abaya. One of the things that never gets old when you teach people to ride bikes is the sheer thrill they get when they realise they can do it.
The really special thing about teaching both the women in Fawkner and the women here is just the cultural barriers that they face every day, and coming from a place where they never thought they'd ever be able to ride a bike. A lot of them do reflect that it's been their lifelong dream to ride a bike, but they never thought they'd be able to do it. So it's just that extra level of being able to gift that to somebody.
I got really excited when I heard about this program. I'm almost 40 and I've never ridden a bike. I tried when I was little. Yeah, I still can't believe that I can ride, and yeah, it's been a dream and I'm so glad that it came true.
It was excellent, very special experience for me because it was my childhood wish to learn how to ride a bike.
Yeah, my experience was great because I've never ridden the bike before. So it was like truly empowering for me. And I thought I can't ever learn, but Kaz was really patient and encouraging.
At this age, it's a really courageous thing to learn new things. And any age, anyone can do it if they want it. And willingness is the most important things, and that's I prove myself.
I think it's good health-wise.
Good evening, councillors, members of the gallery and to our viewers live streaming tonight's meeting. My name is Councillor Nada Bood and I am the Mayor of Merri-bek City Council and the chairperson of tonight's meeting. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the council meeting this evening. We are meeting on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people. We wish to acknowledge them as the traditional custodians of these lands and waterways and would also like to pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, as well as to all First Nations communities who significantly contribute to life of the city. This council meeting is being recorded and web streamed live to council's website and YouTube. This recording will also be available as video on demand. Attendees are advised that they will be recorded during the meeting. A reminder that as councillors, we will act in accordance with the Councillor Code of Conduct, which will support the principles of leadership and good governance that secures public confidence in the office of councillor. In the event of an emergency or disruption, we may be required to take action to ensure the safety of attendees. For members of the gallery and councillors attending in person, please follow the directions issued by council staff and security officers. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation. I'd like to introduce the other councillors in attendance this evening. Councillor Helen Davidson, the Deputy Mayor.
Good evening, everyone.
Councillor Sue Bolton. Councillor Liz Irvin.
Good evening, everyone.
Councillor Jay Iwasaki.
Hello, everyone.
Councillor Chris Miles, who is attending online this evening.
Evening, everyone.
Councillor Adam Pulford to my left.
Hi, everyone.
That was appropriate, wasn't it? Councillor Alice Svensson.
Hi, everybody.
Councillor Katarine Theodosis.
Hi, everyone.
Councillor Oscar Yildiz.
Good evening.
And I'd like to also introduce the Acting Chief Executive Officer, Sue Vucevic, and the senior management team. This evening I've received an apology from Councillor Politis. I'll now move on to disclosures and conflicts of interest. Councillors, are there any conflicts of interest to declare this evening? Nope. So I'll now move to the confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. Councillors, could I please have a motion for the confirmation of the minutes of the council meeting held on the 8th of April 2026, the special council meetings held on the 15th and 22nd of April 2026. Councillor Theodosis and Councillor Davidson. Would you like to speak? No? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried unanimously. Councillors, now that we've confirmed the minutes, we can move on to the acknowledgements and other matters. There is a provision of up to 10 minutes for all councillors to acknowledge and recognise achievements of local individuals and organisations and raise matters considered important to council that are not already listed in the meeting agenda. Councillors, do you have acknowledgements or other matters you'd like to raise? I'll start with Councillor Bolton and just go around. I'll start with Councillor Yildiz and come back around. Do you have anything? Councillor Theodosis? Councillor Svensson? Councillor Pulford? Councillor Davidson? Councillor Iwasaki? Councillor Irvin? Councillor Miles? And while Councillor Bolton gets organised, I'd just like to mention that today I rode my bike down Sydney Road to Carlton. And on the way down, I saw that there was a giant rainbow being painted outside Michelle Guglielmo Park. And on the way back, I noticed that that rainbow's finished. And so, as well as the gorgeous piece of artwork that has been put at the Glenroy hub, the rainbow down in Brunswick looks absolutely fantastic. And I ran into somebody I know and said, "Did you see the rainbow?" And they said, "Oh my God, it's so amazing. Was that you?" And I said, "It was all of us." And I was really proud to be a councillor and the city mayor as I rode home. So that's my big exciting piece of news. Councillor Bolton.
I might start with a couple of other issues. Firstly, something which I didn't report on at the last council meeting was the community meeting which I held in Fawkner at the end of March, and I neglected to report on it in April. So there were a number of issues that were discussed at the community meeting, and one of the big issues was wanting to see the Fawkner Library open on Sundays and open later on Saturdays in line with some of the other libraries across Merri-bek. And I believe a petition has been created around that particular issue. There was also discussion about council's consultation about shifting to fortnightly waste collection, and a view was put forward by some people in the meeting about the need to incentivise the use of green bins before shifting to fortnightly waste collection of landfill. There was discussion about what can be done to organise traffic better in Bonwick Street, where it's sort of, there are a few road design issues which make it very chaotic, because Fawkner, on Bonwick Street in particular, has become a foodie capital for parts of Melbourne, with people coming from all over, from Point Cook, from Tarneet, from Thomastown, Craigieburn, Roxburgh Park, to come to eat at Fawkner restaurants, particularly in Bonwick Street. So that creates there's so many people coming to Fawkner that it creates a lot of, it's great, but it also creates a lot of traffic chaos. And so there are some views in the community about how to resolve those issues, slow traffic down, but organise it in a better way. There's also the issue of lighting on the upfield shared path, particularly near the cemetery, or lack of lighting, and also some issues around traffic safety on Anderson Road in Fawkner. One of the other things which I attended this just on Sunday gone, it was an activity for Mother's Day of Wheel Sisters, which is a really fantastic program that one person who's involved in Merri-bek Bicycle Users Group plus others formed a few years ago called Wheel Sisters to teach women or give women cycling companions in the northern suburbs in particular. I mean, I don't think you have to live in the northern suburbs, but there is a really lovely dynamic of women who can now get around because they might not have had any kind of transportation, and we've got pretty rotten public transport in Fawkner. So those were some of the issues that were discussed. Now I need to announce with some formal council designed words. Not that one. This is the form of words. So basically I want to just announce that, or formally advise council that I will be a candidate in the upcoming state election in November for the seat of Broadmeadows, and I've notified the acting Chief Executive Officer, and once my nomination is formally lodged with the Electoral Commission, I will apply for a leave of absence from council.
Thanks, Councillor Bolton. We can now move to petitions. So I have a petition which is requesting council names the driveway between Barclay Street and Wilson Avenue in Brunswick, and Luna Dreyer is here tonight in person to present the petition. Luna, would you like to come in? And yeah. Come on in, Luna. Yeah, just stand at that podium and make sure that the green light is on that microphone button there. And don't be intimidated, it's not as much as it seems. We're just a room full of people, so...
Hello, good evening. I took the liberty to print the visual evidence that supports my petition. Can I just pass it on?
Yep, just leave it on there and we can circulate them. So you've got 2 minutes to speak to address the meeting.
Wonderful. No? I'm speaking on behalf of the residents in Barclay Street and Wilson Avenue, all of whom have signed this petition, and it has been already presented there. This lane, our primary request is simple: to officially name the rear lane behind our properties. This lane is used daily by residents and businesses, and naming it would be the foundation to allow every other problem to be solved. A name lane would allow the residents to establish secure rear addresses, which is essential right now as we face a growing issue of porch piracy. Our parcels and even the e-scooters have been stolen from inside our front yards in broad daylight. A rear address would let us install secure parcel doors in our garages, out of sight and protected. A name lane would also allow businesses facing the lane, including the Melbourne Philosophy School at Wilson Avenue, which hosts around 30 people at a time, to provide a clear, direct entrance instead of sending them outside. You've got the visual evidence there of the map they provide on their website. They have to go collect the people from the other end of the street. Naming this lane will unlock major benefits for Barclay Street, the ability to move heavy deliveries to the rear. Barclay Street hosts Tasman Checkpoint, which is a big automotive panel beta. His deliveries are big vans, trucks, tow trucks, which are just all over the street every morning. It would be a significant improvement to our everyday lives if this business could get their deliveries from the back. The same for all the other houses, because this section of Barclay Street is commercial and residential, and so our neighbors that have got businesses, they would love to have a separate address for their businesses, which would be the back.
Thanks, Luna. We can, what I need to do now is ask any councillor if they have a conflict of interest to disclose regarding the petition. And then whether there's any councillors that would like to briefly speak to the petition, and then I'll ask for a motion for it to be received. So could I have a motion that the petition be received? Councillor Bolton and Councillor Iwasaki. So I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. Thanks for coming in, Luna.
Thank you for your time.
And for the petition as well.
And sounds like a very logical proposal.
Thanks, Councillor Bolton. I'll now ask for petitions tabled by councillors. Councillors, do you have any petitions to be tabled on behalf of residents? Councillor Bolton? Would you like to briefly speak to the petition, and then I'll ask for a motion for it to be received?
Yes, I've got half of a petition. The next half will have to come at the next council meeting because I didn't have access to a printer to print off names. So this petition is called Save Merri-bek Community Festivals, and it was created in response to knowledge in the community that council, at that point in time when the petition was created, had a plan to cancel the Fawkner and Glenroy festivals and shift the Sydney Road Festival and Coburg Night Markets to every second year, or each, by a biannual basis. So Sydney Road Festival 1 year, Coburg Night Markets the next. And a lot of people, especially in the Fawkner and Glenroy region, were very upset about the plan to cancel their festivals in order to enable lots of little cultural activities that would go ahead in the north, instead of an event that brings everyone, the whole community together. And so that was how the petition came about. The petition is also calling for the Sydney Road Festival to be biannual. Now, the petition has about 85 signatures on it, but someone texted me another page in transit, but I haven't been able to print that out. There is another online petition of almost 200. So this particular petition I'm tabling now was initiated by Glenroy Neighbourhood House. The petition I'll table next month, which has almost 200 online signatures, similar content and similar demands, is initiated through Merri Food Hub in Fawkner. And we really stopped pushing around the petition once council backed down from the plan to cancel the Fawkner and Glenroy festivals. But we wanted to table it to show that the Fawkner and Glenroy festivals are very much loved, but also we need to keep the Sydney Road Festival as an annual event.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton.
Yeah, that's the petition.
Yeah. So the first petition has some signatures though? Yeah. Yeah, okay, great, thanks. Yeah, that's good. I just need a mover and a seconder for the petition. I'm assuming you want to move it, Councillor Bolton. And Councillor Iwasaki to second. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried unanimously. And I believe, Councillor Miles, do you have another petition as well?
No, it will more likely be coming to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so now what I'll do is I'll move to questions of council and community statements, and the time provided for questions and statements is 30 minutes, and this time can only be extended by another 30 minutes by resolution of council, and if we do not have time to answer your question, it will be taken on notice and responded to in writing. Priority will be given to questions and statements that relate to matters listed in the agenda. If time allows, questions about items other than those listed on the agenda will be considered. A maximum of 2 questions or statements in any combination is allowed per person, and questions or statements that relate to a matter listed in the agenda will be dealt with first. If you have registered to ask a question, when I invite you, you or your representative must state your name and suburb and then ask your question with preamble or background for up to 3 minutes. And if you have registered to make a statement, when I invite you, you or your representative must state your name and suburb and then make your statement without taking longer than 3 minutes. If you've submitted a second question or indicated that you have a second statement, it may, at my discretion, be deferred until all other persons who have submitted questions have asked their first question, or not be asked if time does not permit. A maximum of 3 questions will be heard on any one subject, and then we'll proceed to the next topic. If time allows, we can return to the previous topic. I'll either answer the question on behalf of council or invite another councillor to answer the question. Alternatively, I will ask the Chief Executive Officer to provide a response or refer it to another council officer. There will be no response or discussion in relation to community statements. As detailed in the governance rules, questions or statements may be disallowed if they are defamatory, indecent, abusive, offensive, irrelevant, trivial or objectionable in language or substance. If a response to your question is provided at tonight's meeting, there will be no further formal response. However, council will action any commitments made in answering the question. And I just want to remind everyone that if you can please stick to that time limit of 3 minutes, because there are quite a few questions to be asked, and I think that's fair to allow each other the chance to be heard as well. So the first, and at this stage I think we're at about 24 questions and statements, and 6 of them have been taken on notice. The commencement time of question time is 6:52, and I'll ask Annalie, if you could please come in. Your question refers to 7.1 on the agenda, so the first question to be asked. Hello.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors. I'd like to address the proposed acceptance of the Heritage Report. I have had a look at it and I have a great concern with the Coburg part of it, and that's what I wish to make a statement about. In my view, the report doesn't fulfil the brief that they were given regarding a full examination of the heritage value of the Coburg shops and surrounding areas. I've had a look at it, and what I found that there is a table in the document, and there's a very long list of buildings which are, the same terms go over again: not recommended for further investigation, low architectural interest, not enough historical evidence to warrant assessment. So when you look at this list, clearly there are a large number of buildings that haven't been assessed. Now, I am a historian, I have worked on heritage surveys, and I've never really come across anything quite like this. What is historical evidence? There's no methodology as to what they've done in terms of this. Again, I'm specifically talking about the Coburg part of it. Local architectural interest is also problematic, because what is architect? Who defines that? As I say in my statement, it's debatable, changes over time. I give the comment about brutalist architecture. It doesn't mean that the whole building has to be intact. Buildings evolve over time. They're not always in aspic, but they do reflect the growth and development of an area. So my personal view is that I think it's been fairly limited in its scope and depth, and so it's really insufficient, I think, to make long-term decisions about the future of some of these buildings in terms of whether they are worthy of local heritage protection. Now, Coburg Strip is not the same as the Brunswick Strip, I acknowledge that. But there's still significant historical and architectural elements, and it's noted that the consultants have come up with 3 buildings, 2 of which I would say would have limited architectural interest. So again, to me, there's a bit of inconsistency here. So as I conclude, the resolution sought answers. I don't think they've been given. I think more work is required. And certainly, I don't think decisions can be made without proper assessment, and the assessment needs to be done, and sometimes it can be very time-consuming, having done such work myself. But I think it's just been taken too superficially, and it's an area that is under stress, under threat, and again, I'm not sort of person that everything has to be preserved, but I think there are some very important elements that not just architectural, they're social, community, retail.
If you could start to wrap up, Annalie.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. So the next person on the list is a question related to 7.3, the Festivals Program Refresh, and I have Ian Mack, if you'd like to approach the podium. Ian.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and councillors. As always, it's lovely to be amongst friends. I come here wearing my hat for the Anglican parish of Wilwilrook this evening as a warden. We noted in the council agenda a motion about the festivals. And while it seems the aspiration is to benefit the people of the north that we represent, we would respectfully suggest that rather than reallocation, the priority is more about reinforcement, that additional funds need to be made for additional community events and additional festivals. I particularly think that's relevant at the moment because we live in a world which has politely been described as ruptured. And the true connection that sees people through times of challenge and rupture is community connection. Sydney Road Festival is the pinnacle festival of our municipality. Having it become biannual would be a deeply saddening event. The reason I say this is because it's a draw card across the whole entire city, and groups from across our whole city participate there. So you have a lively, vibrant, interactive event that draws people from all over the city of Merri-bek, and indeed probably from all across the greater city of Melbourne. Now, while I would love to see additional resources allocated to the north, north of Bell Street often feels a little bit like we've got tumbleweeds blowing around. Having specific isolated events is not going to be connecting people cross community groups, cross cultures, across issues like the festivals do. So I would like to suggest humbly that we as a city reach deep into our pocket, pull out some more money, because I think it's a pragmatic solution to making our society stronger and more integrated and in line with Council's own articulated values about social inclusion. Referencing the climate change crisis in the agenda item was interesting. We must bring people together so that they can develop the resilience to deal with climate change. Not holding events because of climate change seems to be pushing in exactly the opposite direction. I remember being on Sydney Road with
I just need to get you to wrap up, Ian.
Okay. I remember being on Sydney Road with John Englert one day. It was at the festival, and he said, "This is the very heart of community." Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I'll now ask Julie Sinney if you can please approach the lectern. Hi, Julie. Good, thanks.
Thank you. My name's Julie Sini. I'm the president of the Sydney Road Brunswick Association. As this is such a large community conversation to be having, and only to be having it within the council chamber, the Sydney Road Brunswick Association question is how the council saw fit not to have this conversation as a proper community engagement process. We understand that there may have been concerns around and us and them mentality, but regardless, that is taking place. What is taking place here tonight, as a valued community members and stakeholders are likely presenting their case for their components of the festival's programming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What I'll do is I will ask the responsible director, Eamon Fennessy, the Director of Community, to answer the question on our behalf.
Okay.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Julie, thank you for your question. We understand the interest in the refresh of our festival program, given, as we've just heard from Ian, the really significant depth of community participation over many, many years. Our council plan 2025 to 29 tasked us, so council tasked officers, with looking at a refresh of our festivals. Many have been run in a similar way for a very long time, and at the core of that was to explore how more equitable access could be found across the municipality to cater for our more and more diverse and changing community and their needs. A big part of that was also looking at how we run festivals in a financially and also environmentally sustainable way. So given these limitations, particularly the financial one, we determined broad community consultation at this stage of the process, so at this stage, would most likely become, as you have suggested, a very divisive exercise. The report that Council will consider tonight will determine the key parameters of our new festival program, which will then allow officers to meaningfully engage with our respective communities on how we can bring a new festival program to life with those limitations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I did have 2 people registered to ask a question online, but we don't have them yet, so I'll just wait and see if they show up, and we might come back to that. So I'll move on to report 7.5, the evaluation trial road closures of Barrow Street in Coburg, and ask, is Rory here, please? Hi, Rory.
Good day, everyone. Thanks for hearing me tonight. I'm here as a resident and parent of a primary school aged child in Merri-bek. And I want all residents to sort of see the benefits of cycling. So personally, I've lost weight, about 10 kilos. Resting heart rate, cholesterol have all plummeted because of the bicycle. I save time and money from not having to worry about finding a park and not getting stuck in traffic. And because of all these benefits, the bicycle is now my main mode of travel, even when I'm travelling with my family. Being a parent of a child, a primary school aged child, we ride to and from school along Barrow Street. We visit the local parks and friends and family. And with both ends now at Harding Street and at Moreland Road being closed, the Moreland Road end is closed, as you know, because of the Blair Street intersection works. It's been so pleasant not having to worry about all the vehicles on Barrow Street. I see many cars attempting to enter Barrow from Moreland Road, and there's no frustration, they just find another way. And it makes me wonder, instead of fixing the intersection, maybe the road should have just been closed permanently at that end. The street's been closed for months, and it's given a sense of security that sadly will not be made permanent because the road will be opening very shortly. The Barrow Street closure trial at Harding Street shows traffic reduction is working, as the report states. And I hope it's made permanent. But displaced vehicles are ending up on other streets, such as Coburg Street. My question is now, what is the Council's plan to reduce overall vehicle trips in and around Merri-bek and not just shift them to other streets? And does Council agree that piecemeal closures won't be enough until there is a connected, protected cycling lane, not a shimmy route full of sharrows, that people of all ages and abilities can ride independently?
Thank you, Rory. I'll ask the Director for Place and Environment, Penny Winslade, to answer your question.
Through you, Mayor, and thank you very much for your question, Rory, and how fabulous the benefits you're having from cycling. Look, absolutely, a trial road closure is just one small part of a wider program that Council is working on. So we have a much wider strategy called the Moving Around Merri-bek strategy, and also the Streets for People plan, which set out the bigger picture direction that we're heading towards, which includes much better, amongst other things, much better active transport connections. What the Barrow Street trial is doing is really just testing one tool in that kit to see if it can work, and the extension of the trial is trying to look at, the trial's achieved some really good things on Barrow Street, but it's had some knock-on effects. Can we do other treatments that help and sort of prove that up? And if that works, it becomes a tool that we're able to use in other locations as well. So it's one piece in a much bigger picture.
Okay.
Thanks, Penny. And thanks for your question, Rory. The next question on report 7.5 is Yvette Zegenhagen, if you're here, Yvette. OAM, I should say. Hi, Yvette.
Hi. Thank you.
Statement, sorry.
Sorry?
Your statement?
Yes.
Yeah. Great, go for it.
Before I begin, I was advised that I'm speaking on behalf of over a dozen people, and to faithfully capture everyone's ideas, I was told that I could humbly request a 2-minute extension to the statement, or I can just read really
There's
fast.
somebody speaking after you, and then a whole, like literally this many other questions. So it'd be great if you could just make whatever statement you can make. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So thank you, councillors. As I said, I'm speaking on behalf of several households at the bottom end of Coburg Street. And as a collective, we support safer streets, active transport, and improving cycling infrastructure. But any long-term decision about Barrow Street closure must also fully account for the residents who are currently carrying the unintended consequences of this trial every hour of every day. The central issue for us is this: the closure has not actually reduced traffic from the local area, it's redistributed it into narrower residential streets that were never designed to absorb that level of traffic. Council's own report acknowledges the importance of balancing safety, accessibility and neighbourhood amenity for all residents, and at present that balance hasn't been achieved for Coburg Street residents. Since the Barrow Street closure, Coburg Street has experienced a significant increase in traffic volume, including larger vehicles using the street as a through route between Bell Street and Rennie Street. The result has been a measurable decline in safety, livability and community wellbeing. So first, safety. The end of Coburg Street and the continuation of that road, which is Richards Street, are both narrow residential streets with limited visibility due to parked cars and constrained road width. Families with young children can no longer safely use driveways, nature strips or footpaths in the way that they previously did. Children crossing the street now face substantially greater risk because of traffic volume and driver impatience. Importantly, the current arrangement appears to have simply transferred an increased risk rather than reduced it. And a street previously used primarily by local residents is now functioning as a major traffic funnel. Secondly, property damage and financial impact. So residents have experienced bins being destroyed, vehicles being completely written off or sideswiped, and repeated near misses as cars and larger vehicles attempt to pass through bottlenecks. Collectively, residents at the bottom end of Coburg Street have incurred tens of thousands of dollars worth of vehicle damage since the trial began. The road itself is also deteriorating under the increased load, and you can see recent damage is clearly visible on either side of the traffic calming devices around numbers 7 and 8 and in front of numbers 9 and 12, as many drivers simply accelerate through those speed humps and between them. And the third is community wellbeing. So council policies rightly speak about creating connected, healthy neighbourhoods, but the lived experience on Coburg Street is moving in the opposite direction. Residents chose this street because it was quiet and family-oriented. Children previously rode bikes, visited neighbours, played safely outside, and families regularly interacted informally across the street. That sense of community connection is now being eroded by constant traffic noise and safety concerns. There are also health impacts that are difficult to quantify, but I can say as a mother of 2 young children, very real for families, such as regularly interrupted sleep for infants and young children. Any parent will know the trauma of that because of the increased vehicle movements and noise. So this isn't, very importantly, an argument against cycling infrastructure or safer cycling routes. It's an argument for ensuring that one group of residents isn't disproportionately burdened to solve a broader transport problem. Before any permanent decision is made or before the current trial is extended, we request that Council undertake a comparative trial involving the closure of Coburg Street instead of Barrow Street, so that decisions can then be based on evidence across 2 different scenarios. There are strong planning and safety reasons why Coburg Street may in fact be the more appropriate closure point. Barrow is a continuous 2-lane road better suited to carrying larger vehicular traffic. Coburg Street and the connecting Richards Street are narrower, more constrained and less capable of accommodating diverted traffic.
Yvette, can I get you to wrap up at 4? Is that a good compromise?
Sure. I just also want to add very quickly that the Richards Street closure, there are already important bicycle and pedestrian safety measures in place to allow much easier access by cyclists and pedestrians to public transport, to pedestrian crossings and safer access to Pentridge. So it's a better option than a Barrow Street closure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I now ask Helen Kratzman if you're here to please come in and make your statement. Hello, Helen.
Hi, everyone. I am asking councillors to support extending the modal filter trial on Barrow Street. Our community experience increased traffic volumes in local streets like Barrow Street because motorists are trying to avoid arterials like Nicholson. These traffic volumes are supported by navigation apps and grid connectivity through the section of Coburg encapsulated by Nicholson, Moreland, Sydney Road and Harding Street. We have a rat-running problem. These motorists create a disproportionate level of risk to other road users, and it is Council's responsibility to see that this issue is resolved. This road closure is the first step. I've heard that residents of Coburg Street have had their cars sideswiped by motorists using the street, and council officers are working to further mitigate these impacts. I can't help but think about the inability for motorists to drive in their lane without crashing into objects, and how fortunate that the damage was to property and not to small humans travelling to school. Barrow Street feeds into several schools, including Coburg High, which recently did their active transport survey. They have an 80% active transport rate, and Merri-bek Primary, which has up to 70% of children using active travel. That's a lot of children on the road, moving about with impatient motorists and the dangerous, ever-rising height of their car bonnets. Children have a very low chance of survival if driven into, both because of the speed of the motorist and because of the increasingly large vehicles that strike people who walk and ride in the head, the neck and the chest, which is where all our vital organs are. Studies have found that children involved in a fatal crash are 8 times more likely to have been struck by an SUV than a standard car. Council's human rights policy states that Council is committed to being a child-friendly city and community where young children and young people's rights are upheld and initiatives and practices support their participation in civic life. Yet children and their families contend with rat-running, speeding motorists trying to cross or travel on Barrow Street to get to school. Parents have been struck by motorists at roundabouts. Residents have had motorists crash across the footpath, through the fence and into their houses. This modal filter is the first step to give our children the freedom to travel independently so they can walk or ride to school or to the movies or to visit a friend. Barrow Street is a council-controlled road. It is within your power to keep this street safe for the large number of children that use it. And tonight, I ask that you support the officer's recommendation to extend the trial.
I just want to high-five you so much.
Thanks.
Welcome back, Helen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm just going to say really quickly that I would like to thank council officers for all the work they've done on the Barrow and Blair Street crossings. The paint will go on within days and it's going to look
Thank
great.
you, Helen.
Thank you. I'm leaving. Thank you.
What's not to love about this city, man? Okay, 7.7, the Merri-bek Community Awards. Alicia, come on in. And I believe you have a statement. And that made me sweat. Thank you very much. Hello.
Dear Mayor Nat, councillors, council workers and general public, as some of you may know, I have a disability and I am slow to speak, so I fear I may go beyond the 3-minute allocated. So request for a little leniency, please.
Go for it, Alicia.
I live in Merlinston and speak on behalf of CAM, Climate Action Merri-bek. I refer to agenda item 7.7 of the recommendation from a council officer for a general revision of the award categories. Eamon Fennessy, love that name, Director of Community Wellbeing, endorsed the revised Merri-bek Community Award categories for 2026. We are very appreciative of this change. This is in order for the Merri-bek Community Awards to be strategically streamlined to Council Plan 2025 to 2029, aligning to the following key themes. In particular, Due to the Community Award change to item D, the Environmental Sustainability Award in recognition of John Englert. John lived, oozing his pores of his first key theme of the new award categories, care for nature and climate resilience. John Englert was an integral member of CAM and was a convener for approximately 10 years. John supported key themes of the Change Community Award categories: health and inclusive communities, beautiful and livable city. John had such a love for his suburb Faulkner, he influenced my move to Merri-bek. Thriving economy and culture. John was a prolific citizen journalist and supporter of Soul, the production company I founded in 1993. He strongly viewed culture as a fervent form of communication about important social issues, passionately aligning to a thriving culture. And of course, as you are all aware, on the theme, the fifth theme, engaging a responsible council. John was always faithfully present for every entire council meeting, as you know, until he died in July 2025. We miss his constant presence in the gallery here and at CAM, bush bike paths and parks and cafes. I had immense respect for this marvellous man. John Englert took responsibilities within CAM in order to take action on climate change at all levels of government, including internationally, attending several COP events. We at CAM come together out of concern about the lack of meaningful political action on climate change and a recognition that we need to take responsibility for our future. We need a rapid transition to a zero-carbon society to prevent severe climate change that will have a devastating effect on all our lives and those of future generations. One of John's last campaigns that he worked on and brought to our attention was No Waste Incinerator Wollert, or Stop the Wollert Incinerator, for protecting our health, air, land, water and families. This 760,000 tonnes per year of waste burned impacts us right here. There will be cancer-causing dioxins released into our air, asthma-inducing fine particulates, airborne heavy metals in the air. Each kilogram of plastic equals 3 kilograms of CO2, increasing global warming impacts. Children and pregnant women are most vulnerable. And there is a childcare centre nearby the proposal. Crazy. It would be close to new housing, schools and aged care. And what confounds me most is that a similar incinerator was banned in New South Wales, ACT, California and Wales. Why are the northern suburbs of Melbourne singled out and discriminated against?
I'll just have to ask you to wrap up, Alicia.
Yeah, I've just got one more paragraph. It is pleasing to know that this Council of Merri-bek is supportive of our campaign, as while the incinerator is not in this municipality, the plumes of smoke and toxic particles will affect us all in Merri-bek. This campaign is vital because it is an abuse of social justice and the rights of citizens' health. This was one of the campaigns John fought for. We of CAM remain fighting to continue his legacy and invite anyone to join John Englert's brilliant work. Thank you. Alicia Lively, Director of CAM.
Thank you so much, Alicia.
Thank you very much.
I'd like you to, Alicia, before you go, I'd like you to know that during the week I did
I didn't hear
present,
that, sorry.
I'd just like you to know that during the week I did present on behalf of Council at the inquiry about the incinerator alongside the Hume City Council to reiterate Merri-bek's agreed position about sending our waste to that energy incinerator, because there are a couple of things you missed. One is that that thing in Wollert is looking to be 400 metres from the Merri Creek. And another thing that you missed, which is that John Englert also made a very good apricot jam.
I had to cut out a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much, councillors. Thank you. And now 7.12, Friends of Alayu report. I'd like to ask Glenys Romanis if you would like to, Glenys Romanis AM, if you would like to please come and join us. And while you're coming in, I need to get an extension of time, please, councillors. Councillor Irvin and Councillor Bolton, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. And I believe you have a statement.
I have.
Thank
you. Glenys Romanis, a resident of Brunswick, South Brunswick for 41 years, so been around for a while. And thank you, Mayor and councillors, for the opportunity to say a few words about the Friends of Ilayu's 2025 annual report, which is on your agenda for tonight's meeting. We all know that annual reports are typically tedious documents, but they are important expressions of accountability. And if you dip into this one, you'll see it tells the story of the wide range of activities of the Friends of Ilayu partnership. This partnership reflects the strong commitment of Merri-bek and Hume councils and their respective communities, which began in the year 2000, when Janana Guzmau delivered the Morris Blackburn oration in Coburg Town Hall and challenged us to walk with the Timorese people to meet the challenges ahead. This happened only a few months after the Indonesians had left East Timor with a trail of devastation, and the new country was embarking on the path to independence. Councillors Andy Ingham from then Moreland Council and Gary Jungworth from Hume led the move to form a community response to Janana's call to support their next struggle, which of course is the difficult struggle for development and nurturing democracy. Friends of Ilayu became part of a movement of friendship groups across Australia, which peaked at one point at about 35 friendship groups. I think there are now just less than 20. This grew out, particularly though, out of involvement of local governments and their communities. So local government was a big part of that growth of that network. Friends of Ilayu has been active in Merri-bek and Hume since then, raising funds for student scholarships through the annual trivia night, funds for oral health projects through the Giving Circle dinner, and funds for youth projects through the grassroots gathering organised by a group of young people keen to encourage their peers to get involved. The group has worked tirelessly with the Timorese Association of Victoria, other friendship groups here in Australia, and our council staff to strengthen ties with Timor-Leste. Our project officer helped organise last year's Friendship Conference in Dili, bringing together Australians and Timorese from non-government organisations, municipal administrations and government officials from the Ministry of State Administration in Timor-Leste to address the topic, building and empowering communities through partnerships, a topic, of course, that's dear to the heart of people here. More recently, we've enlisted the support of some well-experienced dentists and public health experts to embark on a new ambitious program to influence and promote good oral health outcomes, but not only in Ilayu, but across the whole of Timor-Leste. Timor-Leste is still a very poor country, and Friends of Ilayu has continued to fund the community's resource and training centre, youth permaculture activities and small projects. New initiatives at home have included 2 library talks on Timor-Leste, attendance at the growing number of festivals in Merri-bek and Hume, and increasing our focus on involving young people.
I'll just have to ask you to
None
wrap
of this
up, please.
would...
I'll just have to draw your attention to the time.
All
you
right.
could wrap up,
well,
please.
I just want to finish to say none of this would have been possible without the ongoing support of the 2 councils. And 26 years, this council has kept the faith, has looked outward from this municipality beyond our own local needs and honoured the commitment to Janana. Thank you for doing that and for that support all that time.
Thank you for your statement and your work as well. Thank you. I said thank you for your statement and also for your work. Okay, so now we'll move to questions related to the notices of motion, and the first one is 8.1, the footbridge across Merri Creek in southern Fawkner, and I have a statement from Andrea Bunting. Hello, Andrea.
Hello, Mayor and councillors. Andrea Bunting from Brunswick, also Climate Action Merri-bek. Before I start, I'd like to draw your attention to 2 bus campaigns that Climate Action Merri-bek was strongly involved with, that were winners in the state budget. The 526 and the 508. So we're moving on to our next one. But, the footbridge. Last year, we lost our convener, John Englart, who Alicia has spoken about. He was a Fawkner resident, and he's remembered tonight by having this award named after him. He campaigned for better public and active transport, particularly for Fawkner. And we want to continue the campaign for better public transport for Fawkner. And Council has also identified Fawkner, improving bus services in Fawkner, as a core advocacy item. We know that Fawkner residents have poor access to public transport. We really need to do better. It's not just about improving the upfield line, which a lot of the focus has been on. Some residents want to move east through Reservoir, and that means they need to cross the Merri Creek. So the proposal for a new footbridge in the south of Fawkner will improve their residents' access to public transport. And there are many other benefits, but today I want to just focus on how this new footbridge will allow residents to more readily access buses along Newlands Road. Now, Newlands Road has 2 bus routes, but one is very important. It's the 561. It's a fairly new bus service, and it has a reasonably good service level. It's nearly as frequent as the upfield line. So you can imagine it's, anyway, not a good comparison. But it is a fairly frequent line, and it's a very important east-west bus route for Merri-bek and Darebin. It provides access to 4 train lines and La Trobe University. It allows access to RMIT, Bundoora, Melbourne Polytechnic campuses in Preston, Heidelberg and Epping. So this is a vital bus route for young people, and we really want to give young people of Fawkner an opportunity to get around more easily. It also provides access to more than half of the top 10 destinations in the Northern Metropolitan Region, identified in the Northern Region Transport Study. Clearly, we will need better bus services in Fawkner as well, so that residents can access this proposed footbridge, as well as the stations.
There are 8 people waiting to speak after you, and we've got about 15 minutes.
I know. So we hope that you will incorporate this bridge into your bus advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you. So Daniel Mobilio, also about the footbridge, if you'd like to come in. I think what I'll need to do is, with the place-based community development program, of the 3 of you, you'll have to pick 2 of you between Mariam Zavi and Maggie to speak, because we don't have enough time, basically. So Daniel, then Maddie Lemo and Claire Kentman. Hi, Daniel.
Good evening, councillors, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name's Daniel, and I'm just a resident of Fawkner, and here to support the motion of the footbridge across Merri Creek in southern Fawkner. For Fawkner South residents, the closest accessible footbridge by walking distance is approximately 25 minutes to the Baker Street Bridge in Coburg North and to the BT Connor Reserve Bridge in Fawkner North. This makes it accessibly difficult by foot to access amenities on both sides of the creek. There seem to be 2 possible locations for the footbridge in Fawkner South. Option A, along Merri Creek to Dairy Drive in Coburg North, and option B for Lawn Street to Edward Street in Reservoir. I'm requesting Council to assess the most suitable option and provide a timeline for implementation. Both options support the community benefits outlined by Sue's motion. It will provide a direct and safe way to reach the Merri Creek Trail and amenities like the 561 bus route on either side of the creek. Commencing with option A for the Queen's Parade Merri Creek Trail to Dairy Drive, I see as the practical lower cost option, and it is within Council's municipality. It will allow us to gather data and insights on utilisation to then continue further planning for cross-municipality option B, which is Lawn Street to Edward Street in Reservoir. Community interest in improved Merri Creek connectivity is strong and measurable. It all started with a recent Facebook post that I did on the Fawkner Community Hub, which received 145 reactions of support, while in Reservoir 3073 group, we reached 187 reactions of support and 2 shares. Both posts received over 45 comments of discussion, which I can share for feedback, which was very interesting. These numbers show that the support extends well beyond one suburb. It's a community priority which aligns with Merri-bek's commitments in its latest annual report, such as active transportation, climate-friendly travel, and improved access to open space. This opportunity will have a big impact. Our community is ready for it, and the engagement numbers show some promising starts. So let's build a bridge and get over it. Thank you.
Well done, thank you. Maddie Lemo, if you would like to come in and talk to open Fawkner outdoor pool year round. Thanks, Maddie. And then Claire Kentman, if you could also come in, that would be great.
Hi there, I'm Claire Kentman from Fawkner. Actually, Maddie unfortunately couldn't make it due to work commitments.
Quite fortunate.
So, yes,
great.
that's
3
good
minutes,
for
go for your
everyone.
life.
So I'm here to speak to it relates to the notices of motion 8.3, the open Fawkner outdoor pool all year round. So I'm here in particular to speak on behalf of the early morning lap swimmers who've really been enjoying the amazing new facility. Feel really fortunate that this, $36.8 million redevelopment is so close to us, and the all-electric sustainable design, hopefully making the running costs better for everyone. So we've really enjoyed using the pool, especially in the mornings, but the hours have been limited so far from December to March, so just 4 months of the year for the outdoor pool. And we would really like to request consideration of extending the season of opening hours, ideally all year round, but even just to include the autumn and spring seasons, but also in particular the opening hours, thinking about the early morning opportunities for lap swimming, particularly for residents who work 9 to 5, that haven't been able to access the facility at other times. We're mindful that there are other outdoor pools across Merri-bek, but being aware in winter, at the moment there's only one that's available for lap swimming. I know Brunswick is being redeveloped, and I think Oak Park has opened instead. Talking to other lap swimmers, a lot of people find Brunswick very congested, and knowing that there's only one option is quite limited. We know a lot of members who really use the facility just for lap swimming have gone out of Merri-bek area, so just knowing that we might be losing some potential memberships there too, but also people perhaps using their cars and additional transport that kind of goes against some of the sustainability initiatives as well, to have to travel or to not go at all. All the people that have been using it, really enjoying the mental health, physical health benefits, social connection, all of the things that we know are really important. And just in terms of understanding the decision-making process around the pool hours, we would just be really interested to understand how that's done. And in particular, if it is around usage, we would encourage more kind of promotion and clear communications about the opening hours. So with this early morning trial, it wasn't on the website or any of the physical signage until the 26th of February. So it was a month before it closed. So the people using the outdoor pool in the mornings largely only knew about it through word of mouth or actively asking staff. And there was often confusion about the opening hours. So if decision-making is related to usage or trial, just that there's some clarity around how that happens.
Okay, so thank you for the question. I can try and organise an answer for you if you like.
Okay.
So ask the Director for Community, Eamon Fennessy, the guy with the popular name. to please answer the question.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you, Claire, for your question, but also for the amazing swimming that you're doing. I think it's incredible that people swim throughout winter and early in the morning. It's great. The short answer, I think, really is so Council have a notice of motion tonight to consider that will task officers with coming back with a report that outlines a whole lot of different parameters around, if and how we'd look at extending opening hours. Usage is really key to that. So we need a kind of critical mass of people to make it worthwhile firing up, I was going to say burners, but everything's electric at Fawkner. But getting the pool to a sustainable sort of heat level, which we can't sort of do just for a few hours. It's a kind of many hours or all day, overnight thing. So balancing the operational costs with the use is really important, and we'll bring a report back that looks at that. What I will ask my team to do is to get in touch with you. I've got your email here to actually hear a bit more about your group and community demand, because we've heard some of that through our provider, the YMCA, but I'll ask the recreation team to get in touch with you and get a bit more of an understanding around what you're after and what you're doing.
That would be great. Yeah, there's a group of us keen to contribute to any aquatic strategy.
We can follow that up.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So now move to either Mariam and Zavi. Well, between Mariam, Zavi and Maggie, if you could nominate two of you to come in, please. Hello, come on in. Oh, yeah, okay, yep. Hi, Zavi, how are you going?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Good evening, Mayor and respected members. I'm Zavi, resident of Fawkner, and I'm speaking on behalf of deeply concerned community members about the Council decision to not further fund the place-based community outreach program after June 2026. We want the Council to reconsider the decision and keep the program going until the results are achieved. The rationale behind the request to overturn the decision is as below. As you all are well aware that our Council is aiming towards achieving zero waste, zero carbon in future. This can only be achieved if Council engages community leaders to help educate community members, help Council spread the word about ongoing subsidies. The community in the North is culturally and linguistically diverse, and the policy, we as a community member wonder how Council is going to achieve zero carbon and zero waste electrification of homes by producing clean energy if there will be no working group like this in the future to bridge the gap between the Council and the community members. With the efforts of place-based community outreach program, the members of the group have been able to spread the word in the community about solar subsidy, heat pump subsidy, home insulation subsidy, compost subsidy. The respected member of the Council can go on the Council's website and see the videos that were made by the help of this group's member to educate community members about the benefits of electrification, importance of less carbon footprint, zero waste, and rebates on solar and batteries. This project also provides leadership opportunities, as in the last June, we arranged to celebrate Environment Day, which was a huge success. And it is vital to celebrate such events as it helps multicultural communities to engage and take local climate action. I happened to be on the panel, and later I was approached by Kirsty, the director of Zero Waste Victoria. I was invited to speak in a panel discussion at the Federation Square on the Environmental Day. To my disappointment, to my utter disappointment, and I could be wrong over here, and I wish and I hope I am wrong over here, none of from our very Council was there to represent Merri-bek Council in the Environmental Day or about the zero waste thing. And then I was able to meet and see representatives and people from all other council in Victoria and from other states as well, which like sort of, which make me think that I highly doubt that the council takes this issue very seriously in general, which is evident from the decision to not further fund this such valuable and long-lasting, impactful program. Now, we want the council to overturn the previous decision and keep this project continue, as there is still a lot to do in our communities to change the behavior around the sustainability.
Thank you. Because we're nearly at time, I'm going to move to Valerie, Kay and Ruben, if you would come in, and then which is regarding the notice of motion 8.5 climate advocacy. And I'm sorry to the people who didn't get to make their statements.
Would it just be a couple of minutes, 1 minute for Marilyn?
I didn't actually get the question submitted either, so for Marilyn. So
Not your statement. Oh,
what?
No, not Marilyn.
Yeah.
Mariam. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Val Kay from Brunswick West, and
I'm Ruben from Brunswick Southwest Primary School.
Hello.
we're here today to speak to the motion. Thank you, Councillor, Mayor and councillors. I'll try and be quick because Ruben's going to say the last part from his own perspective. We're here as members of Merri-bek for climate compensation, which is part of a broader movement looking to make big polluters pay for the costs of climate change caused by products they're profiting from, such as fossil fuels and fossil fuel products. Several councils in Victoria and across Australia have already acted on this. I forgot to mention in my statement, but we're also doing a community survey and petition, and that evidence will also be available to council. At present, costs are disproportionately borne by local communities and local councils. For example, in Merri-bek, the council is doing a great deal to reduce emissions in community and in council, but also has to bear the costs of building adaptation and resilience and responding to extreme climate events. Northern parts of Merri-bek are particularly vulnerable to heat, so council is trying to build resilience in these areas. But people whose first language is not English are at particular risk because accessing information and support is more challenging. Council has employed an outreach officer to reach such groups, but as Zabi said, it appears this position can no longer be funded. So one example of an important resilience and adaptation role being lost due to a lack of money to fund it. Other groups at risk include people in poor quality housing or who are homeless, and people with chronic conditions and mental health issues, particularly if heat exacerbates this. Libraries and community centres can offer refuges, but they have to be staffed, including for extended hours if needed. And infrastructure such as air conditioning needs to be in good order, which it hasn't always been. Staff may even need training for these situations, and again, it all costs money. We have young people with us today, whom Ruben is representing. Young people will bear the brunt of increasing climate change, but there are already particular issues for them. How can we ensure that children have safe outdoor play in periods of extended heat? That's surely a basic right.
Ruben has a minute.
Okay.
There's other people waiting. I'm so sorry. Go, Ruben. Do your best.
Us young people know it's not right that big companies profit from products causing climate change while local communities and local councils bear the cost. So pass the issue. Thanks.
Thank you. Well done. Nick Dolby, I think you'll be the last man standing. And if you could just ask your second question, please, because there was an answer prepared about the Barrow Street situation. Come on in.
Nick Dolby, West Brunswick. I've only got a limited time, so I'll apologise for not being able to comment with pleasure on the Friends of Alea report and with disappointment, perhaps commiseration, on the underspending of capital expenditure. Talking about festivals. Festivals, if it's regular and predictable, you can keep it on the calendar. If it's every 2 years, is it this year? Or is it next year? Oh, I've missed it. Oh, right. Okay.
Nick, it was the second question.
Second question?
Thank you.
That's a map of transport counts.
Thank
this
you.
is a map of transport counts from March 24 to March 26. There is a 4,000 car reduction in traffic around the Barrow Street closure. Over a time of increased car use throughout Melbourne, we saw in this area a 4,000 car reduction.
Thank you, Nick. That was good. We've got just enough time to hear from Mariam. Thank you, Sue. Yep, thank you. I've got it. Thank you. So, Mariam, we know that you're still online waiting, and if you would like to now speak for under 3 minutes to your statement regarding 8.4 place-based community development program for Fawkner, that'd be great. Hello.
Hello.
We can hear you, Mariam. Go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I start. Okay. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Mariam. I've been living in Merri-bek for more than 10 years. I'm speaking on behalf of a group of community members who are deeply concerned about Council's decisions to end the place-based community outreach project in June this year. We come before you tonight not simply to object, but to ask you to reconsider and to share with you what this program has genuinely meant to the people it serves. The place-based community outreach project has been one of the most impactful community initiatives many of us have ever participated in. For residents from multicultural backgrounds, in particular, like me, people who have often felt disconnected from local government, this program was a first point of genuine connection. It spoke to us in ways we could understand, in places where we already felt at home about things that directly affect our lives. Through this project, community members learn about council-supported programs like solar panel subsidies and home insulation assistance, practical, tangible support that many families would never have discovered otherwise. It also introduced us to local organizations like Climate Action, Merri-bek, and Merri Food Hub, building lasting relationships between residents and the broader environmental community. For many people in our group, this was the first time they felt that Council was truly working with them, not just for them in the abstract, but alongside them in their neighborhood on issues they care about. When this project ends in June, that connection ends too. Councillors, I want to be direct. Without this program, there is simply no equivalent engagement happening in suburbs like Fawkner and Glenroy on sustainability issues. These are communities that place real cost of living pressures that stand to benefit enormously from environmental support programs and that are currently under-deserved when it comes to climate and sustainability outreach. Ending this project does not just pause that work, it creates a gap that, based on our experience, nothing else is currently positioned to fill. We understand, of course, that Council must make difficult budget decisions. We do not take that lightly, but we would ask you to weigh those decisions against the outcomes this program has delivered, outcomes that align directly with Council's own stated commitments to equity, inclusion, and environmental sustainability. We are asking Council to reconsider this decision and to commit to the continuation of the place-based community outreach project beyond June. If funding is a constraint, we would welcome the opportunity to work with Council to explore alternatives, whether through grant funding, partnership, or a revised model, because we believe this work is too important to lose. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mariam. Well done. Thank you so much. And thank you for engaging with Council as well. So we just...
Can I ask a question just based on that to the Director?
Sure, of course.
It sounded like a bit of a plea from the last speaker, Miriam, about the potential for council officers to meet with the group, with the working group, to think about, you know, I actually think it would be useful to have some sort of discussion about options for continuing the work. I mean, in addition to what my motion is talking about.
Through you, Mayor, thank you very much, Councillor Bolton. Certainly, I think our staff are meeting with people who've participated in, and are participating in the group regularly, and we're happy to have another meeting. As you know, the draft budget includes the kind of pivoting of the trial into something much more targeted around curbside waste. So the trial is kind of continuing in a different form, and we could certainly have a meeting with community members to talk about that.
Thank you. So because there are quite a lot of people, oh, hang on. So councillors, that concludes public question time, and now we'll move on to the council reports. And if the councillors will indulge me, and because there are quite a lot of people waiting in the gallery, I was wondering if we might bring 8.5, the notice of... You can't hear? Sorry, is the problem that you can't hear? Okay, someone from the facilities team can take that query. What I was saying is that if none of the councillors mind, I will bring forward the notice of motion 8.5, which is climate advocacy, so that that half of the room and the children involved can go home. And I'll ask again if any councillors have a conflict of interest to declare. Okay, so Councillor Svensson, would you like to? And a seconder, Councillor Iwasaki.
I think that was someone who we need to question on about the city
Thank you, Sue. Thanks. Thank you. Go for it, Ella.
Okay, so this notice of motion is about ensuring that Merri-bek and other councils have the resources that we need in order to support our community through the impacts of climate change. We know that the cost of climate disasters in Australia is already at $38 billion per year, which comes to around $3,800 per household. And who is it that pays that cost? Well, we know it's not the fossil fuel corporations who are responsible for around 3/4 of all of Australia's carbon pollution. For example, just one company alone, Santos, they got away with a 10th straight year of paying zero corporate tax, despite bringing in $47 billion in sales. Instead, the people paying the costs of climate change are everyday people. Whether that's through our tax dollars or rates, funding climate resilience initiatives like those that were mentioned earlier to help our communities and infrastructure respond to the impacts of extreme weather events, or whether it's residents who are paying the price directly, whether that's through paying repairs for your flooded house, or for the cost of keeping cool in a heat wave, or the unimaginable cost of losing somebody that you love. It is both deeply unfair and economically unsustainable that our communities are paying the cost of climate pollution instead of the immensely profitable companies who are actually responsible. That injustice is what led to the formation of the Make Polluters Pay campaign, which is a grassroots campaign all across Australia advocating for the establishment of a climate compensation fund that is paid for by big polluters to fund projects that address the impacts of climate change. There's two local members of this campaign, Val and Maggie. Val, who spoke earlier tonight, they reached out to me to ask Council to add our support to that campaign and to call for this climate compensation fund to provide dedicated support to councils like Merri-bek. As Val very clearly pointed out just before, Council plays a really essential role, both in reducing carbon emissions, but also in supporting our community to become more resilient to the impacts of climate change. But as you've also heard, it's becoming increasingly difficult for us to fund these initiatives. For many years, council income hasn't kept up with inflation, which is putting us in the impossible position of striving to serve our community whilst being faced with the pressure to cut services and programs. And look, there's a relatively simple solution to this problem, at least on the climate resilience funding side. We can make polluters pay. Unfortunately, due to Council's governance rules, my motion wasn't able to call for a climate compensation levy directly due to complicated rules about setting Council policy. So rather, I've had to call for increased climate resilience funding generally and to call for a report that will come back at a later Council meeting looking at the specific options like a levy. Bureaucracy can be super annoying, but we will get there eventually. So I want to say a very big thank you to all of our local residents for supporting this campaign and bringing it to Council. You're doing amazing work and really, really happy to be pushing this forward at Merri-bek. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Svensson. Councillor Iwasaki.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Svensson, for really outlining the issues. And thank you everyone in the audience for coming and advocating and reminding us of the importance of John's legacy. I was only briefly on the sustainability committee with him, and unfortunately he provided so much, and it's such a missed opportunity for the resources that were with him at every time he was at one of those meetings. So thanks everyone there. As an ecologist in the last 15 years, I've watched basically, oil and gas companies privatize the profits and socialize the losses, and this is just another example of big corporations and even our own government making profits and royalties while local communities have to pay for the mitigation. So thanks so much for your advocacy, and yeah, it's something we'll keep fighting on.
Thank you, Councillor Iwasaki. Are there councillors who would like to speak against the motion? No. Are councillors in support? Councillor Bolton?
Yes, I'd like to speak in support, and I'd like to say that this motion can be seen a bit in tandem to a motion that we passed relatively recently at a council meeting a couple of months ago. I think I put it forward, I'm not sure who seconded it, but around cooling centres to help communities cope with extreme heat. And I think the two motions really work in tandem because I have become concerned that there seems to be some shifting away from considering dealing with extreme heat to be a council problem as well as other levels of state government or other state government, federal government, etc. And I fully support the idea of climate compensation levy so that those who create the pollution pay for the consequences. I think that's a really important thing. I obviously know that local council powers are sort of quite limited, but there are, and obviously different levels of government try and shove costs onto other levels of government. And by state government not releasing funds for some of these projects, it's forcing the costs onto local councils. And by corporations not paying the costs, it also forces or socialises the cost while they privatise the profits. So I definitely would support a project like this, a scoping project, but I definitely think it does need to be looked at in tandem to other responsibilities of council around helping communities cope with extreme heat. And hopefully, if this motion passes, hopefully council officers will look at the two things together because I think they complement each other.
Thank you so much, Sue. Councillor Bolton, sorry. Are there other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? No. Well, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. And I hope it would come as no surprise too. Thank you, Liz. Okay, so now because there are other people waiting in the gallery for the rest of the agenda, I'll move back to the beginning of the agenda, which was the initial first report, so I guess the second report now, 7.1, the proposed amendment C239 Merri-bek, Brunswick and Coburg Activity Centres Heritage Project, Decision Gateway 1. I'm assuming there are no conflicts to disclose. If I could have a mover, please. Nope. Thank you, Councillor Theodosis. And a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Yildiz. Councillor Theodosis, would you like to speak to the motion? No? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Oh, sorry, yes, of course. Yep, sure.
I'm feeling very conflicted about this motion. I don't really want to vote against because I don't want to hold up protection for Brunswick heritage sites, but I'm really quite unhappy with the work that the consultants did, and it's two different groups of us and consultants around the Coburg section of the report. This report originally resulted from a motion that I passed, or at least the Coburg part of it, from a motion I passed about trying to get protection for heritage shopfronts in Coburg, because we realised that as they were being pulled down, there was zero protection. And that possibly includes the Bates building, where there is a First World War mural by an unknown returned soldier with pictures of a mural of Palestine and other parts of the Middle East where he was stationed as part of the Australian troops during that war. It's upstairs, it's not visible from the street. So there are a number of, so it is true that the precinct of Coburg shopping centre is not necessarily intact. But as we heard earlier from Annalie Orkins, who's a trained historian, that there are other considerations that need to be made apart from every single building in a precinct being, untouched. And I feel, reading through this study, that's why I asked for it to be deferred till tonight, I feel very conflicted because I feel that there was a dismissive viewpoint towards the Coburg heritage shopfronts. But I'm also, I'm not sure that I can separate out the two parts, the Brunswick and Coburg. I mean, I really feel the Coburg side of it really needs to be done again, but, I'm also not a qualified person around heritage. So I'm feeling very conflicted because I don't want to hold things up for Brunswick, but I'm really very dissatisfied with the Coburg section of the report, and I think Annalie sort of explained some of those reasons earlier in the piece.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. I think when we're asked to put and second a motion like this and nobody responds, there's a very good reason for that to happen, and I think that Councillor Bolton has just outlined that quite well. So unless anybody wants to speak, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? And against? Are you abstaining, Councillor Bolton? Yeah. So that was unanimous with an abstention from Councillor Bolton. Does that make any sense?
No,
so it's not unanimous. Sorry. Okay. So
majority support.
Yeah. Okay. Did you want your vote recorded as an
Yeah,
abstention?
if I could re-record
Of
it,
course. Yeah. No problem. I declare that carried. The next item is 7.2, the Community Grant Program Annual Round Recommendations 2026. If I could have a mover, please. Councillor Svensson and Councillor Pulford to second. Councillor Svensson, would you like to speak?
It's always really exciting to see the recipients of our grants each year. I mean, it's also really great to see, if you go through this report, you can see all of the wonderful community groups that applied for funding, what they applied for funding for, and their successful applicants. And I think what's really great is in each of the categories, you'll see that the vast majority of people who applied received funding as well. So I'm really glad to see that despite the fact that we're in some really tricky financial times as a society, we're still able to provide support to a lot of amazing groups throughout Merri-bek. You're seeing groups like Schoolhouse Studios, who provide affordable arts making space to artists all around Merri-bek, to there's such a long group. You've got a lot of our neighbourhood houses are receiving funding, sporting groups as well. I'd really encourage people to have a look at this report because I think this is some of the awesome work that Council does supporting these local community initiatives.
Thank you, Councillor Svensson. Councillor Paulford, would you like to speak? Anyone like to speak against this motion? Anyone else like to speak in support of the motion? So I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. And move on to the 7.3 Festivals Program Refresh. Councillor Bolton, you would like to move something? Do you have a seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Paulford.
So my motion around the Festivals Program Refresh is to for the Sydney Road Festival, Sydney Road Street Party to remain as an annual event with the next Sydney Road Street Party to occur in 2027. In addition, an effort would be made to attract local community groups and local traders to participate in the Fawkner Festa and the Glenroy Festival. So I've already got, okay, I can speak in favour. Oh, sorry, you've got an extra couple of points. Yeah, sorry about that, which is about community consultation to, that's already part of it, but also about Public Transport Victoria extending its concessions to Sydney Road Festival. Have officers got that? Yeah, acknowledge the support of Yarra Trams in the annual closure of Sydney Road, including waiving of fees, etc. Okay. So the reason I'm moving this, I think we need to make a decision tonight. I was very disturbed when I first heard about the plans to cancel the Glenroy Festival and cancel the Fawkner Festival and shift the Sydney Road Festival to a biannual festival. I also think a lot of people would be disappointed about the Coburg night markets being biannual, but I feel, and a lot of people love the Coburg night markets, but I feel that I need to make a compromise, and I think the Sydney Road Street Party, it's a community event it brings the whole community together. I know not every single person attends. And similarly, the Fawkner and Glenroy festivals. I think we need events which bring lots of different parts of the community together because there is a lot of social division that happens, and just replacing especially the two northern festivals with a 2-week festival of small cultural activities scattered through the community leaves everyone in their existing social groups. We need events which bring the whole community together, where people might be able to talk to people in groups that they've never engaged with before, discover maybe common interests, maybe discover community groups that they never knew existed or sports they never knew existed before. And I know at the Sydney Road Festival, it's not just the prominent community groups like the political parties and Climate Action Mall and Merri-bek and Merri-bek Bicycle Users Group. There's all sorts of little groups, including I'll just end on this sentence, including the multicultural women's sewing group, and that's the Sydney Road Festival is their main way of getting out to the community, and there are many groups like that, and I haven't even talked about the traders yet, but the traders are part of that as well. Thank you.
Councillor Paulford, would you like to speak?
Thank you. I'm happy to speak in support of this alternative motion tonight. Sydney Road Street Party is the biggest community event we have in Merri-bek each year. It brings people from not just Brunswick but all over our city together to Sydney Road, which is the backbone of our community, running straight up and down us. But it doesn't just bring people from Merri-bek, it brings people from all across our city. And I understand what council officers have done here. They've looked at how can we refresh our festivals program and create more resources to invest in other suburbs in the city. But I think our job as council is to kind of listen to the community and take their feedback on board, and then set the framework for council officers to set. And so tonight, I think we have an opportunity to say, we appreciate the work that's been done, but we're really clearly hearing from the community, from community groups, from churches, from local traders, from the Local Traders Association, and from the 750 people who've signed one of 3 petitions in literally the last 5 days. Of the 8 people who registered to speak in support tonight of keeping Sydney Road Street Party every year, there's a clear, overwhelming call from our community to say, let's keep this as an annual event. It's so important for us for all those different reasons. We as councillors have an opportunity to say, cool, we've heard that. Let's set that framework for council officers. And we've spoken to council officers and said, if we do shift Coburg Night Market to every second year, it will free up some resources to be able to invest in other parts of our city, like in Pascoe Vale, that don't have the same kind of festival activity as Glenroy or Brunswick or Coburg. I know that lots of people do love the Coburg Night Market. For me, I'm happy to see that shift to every second year because it's a newer event. Sydney Road Street Party is such a deep history in our community now. It's nearly been running as long as I've been alive. And I think it's also a different event. I appreciate the Coburg Night Market allows traders to reach community members, but I think the Sydney Road Street Party, it reimagines the use of public space, and by closing it down and letting people take over for a day, it's actually a really important way to reclaim our streets. But it also brings people where our businesses are located. So it brings people to businesses' doors, and it services more artists and performers and musicians and community groups in the Coburg Night Market. So yeah, I'm happy to reduce that to every second year. There's also the carols that happen every year in Coburg, so there is still a cultural event that we have each year in Coburg. The extra point I wanted to add was about advocacy, just asking for Yarra Trams to make it clear that we will not have to pay the 30 grand or whatever it is each year to put on the street party. It would help give our team certainty. There's a proposal that if this fails, councillors might want to defer it tonight. I see a deferral as an attempt to just cut it later. I don't think we should support a deferral. We have a chance to say we've listened to our community groups, our local traders, our local residents, our local artists.
Time, councillor.
Let's not risk leaving people in uncertainty. Let's make it really clear this is so important to us. Lock it in as an annual event and work on what the Festival in the North could be.
Thank you. So since we've had 2 councillors speak in support of the motion, the meeting procedure law would say that we now have a councillor speak against the motion, which I'm going to do because I'm the councillor for the Pentridge ward, and the proposal to defer this with more consultation is mine. And if this motion doesn't get up, I will be proposing, well, I was going to foreshadow that I would propose to defer this. And I'll tell you why. Because as a councillor for Coburg, I spend time in Coburg. Now, if you spend time in Coburg, you know we don't have a Ballinballum Place. We don't have a done-up Faulkner Pool. We don't have a Glenroy Hub, but we do have a night market, and it happens every year. And it goes for a few days, and it's not Christmas carols that are specifically targeted to one particular demographic and kids. And it does have arts and local offerings, and I think that as my responsibility as the councillor for the ward that festival sits directly in, I can't support a motion that prioritises the south and the north of the city and completely wipes out the central part of the city. I'm quite concerned that the timing of this festival's refresh happens right in the middle of councillors for eventually declaring that they will be candidates at the state election, and I'm very concerned that the festival's refresh becomes a political football. So as the member for the Pentridge ward, I won't be supporting the motion. Are there councillors that would like to speak in support? Councillor Iwasaki? If you could just...
Happy to support an annual Coburg Night Markets as well, if you want to amend it.
Councillor Iwasaki?
Thank you to Councillor Bolton and Councillor Pulford for speaking in support and trying to find some alternatives to make the festival update schedule work. It's really difficult, and I can acknowledge and recognize the financial pressures that have made it difficult to put on these festivals. But the Sydney Road Street Party has been a staple annual event for decades and is a key part of a community. It benefits residents, community groups, faith groups, and local businesses. I've been, getting a lot of emails, not just from residents who are concerned, but businesses who are on Sydney Road and actually really make this event a part of their annual schedule. So as the only councillor who actually lives on Sydney Road, the festival is also an amazing alternative reality of what a livable and walkable community could really look like, and there's nothing like it in Melbourne. So as one resident put it, the street party is not just a preeminent festival for Brunswick, but really residents of the entire city. This is not something that has ever been restricted towards the south, but people from the north have always come down, people even from Melbourne, make this an annual event, lots of students. This is really something that benefits such a wide radius that, any concern about north-south, I think is really disingenuous. It's really something that we have that benefits everyone and always has. So as hundreds of people and multiple petitions have shown, discussing changing the schedule has caused a lot of concern in the community. And so I will support keeping the street party as an annual event, and we'll be working with our officers, no matter what the outcome, to achieve a solution that protects the Sydney Road Street Party.
Thank you, Councillor Iwasaki. I just wanted to ask a question of directors related to what Councillor Bolton called across the chamber regarding including the Coburg Night Market on an annual basis as part of this motion, just with regard to the additional funding. Would that then mean that this notice of motion, rather than business as usual, would involve additional funding because there are additional actions?
Through you, Mayor, yes, that's correct. So to essentially keep the status quo in terms of what we offer now and add in a new Northern Festival, we'd be looking for considerable additional resources to run that, to staff it, to do all the things that make a festival happen.
Right, thanks. Are there other councillors who would like to speak?
Can I ask a question of the Director?
Of course.
Would it be possible to, I think the Coburg Night Market runs across 3 nights at the moment. If we could reduce it to 2 nights, for example, would that free up some budget for some new programming in, say, Pascoe Vale?
I don't think deferring, it's a good idea to talk about it.
Thanks, Councillor Pulford. It would free up a small amount, but essentially you stand up a festival, the sunk costs of generators and stages and security and all of the things that make it happen, a lot of them are one-off fees, basically, one-off spend.
Councillor Theodosis.
Yeah, I'm going to vote in favour if this motion doesn't get up in favour of a deferral. I would really love to see, as a councillor that represents West Breen Ward and Pascoe Vale, we don't have, as Councillor Pulford mentioned, we're completely missed out on the festival schedule, and I'd really love to see a festival there. And I'd really love to see a way that we can make, if possible, find a way to make all of these festivals work and add in a festival in Pascoe Vale. But I feel like making that up on the fly right now is probably not the best way to do that. And I think maybe having a bit more time and then having that come back to us and finding a way to make them work is probably the best option.
Thank you, Councillor Theodosis. Councillor Bolton, Councillor Davidson.
I'm speaking in support of a deferral. I don't think making these big budget implications decisions tonight is going to benefit the community as a whole. I think having some more time to really nut this out, and also in conjunction with the community feedback, would produce a much better outcome that is going to service and benefit all of the community. The other thing is, and we can't forget, there are huge budget implications for this. So having a festival in the north and the festivals that occur in the south, the multiple festivals in the south, has huge budget implications if they are to run on a yearly basis and continue to do so. And to include that in the budget means we're detracting from something else as well. So these are the things that we really need to consider, put our mind to, and making a decision tonight is not going to lend to a good outcome.
Thank you, Councillor Davidson. Councillor Yildiz.
Just very quickly, I will probably be voting in favour of the deferral too, I think, but I just want to make it clear that I'm not in favour of having the Brunswick Festival every 2 years, and neither am I in favour of having the Coburg Night Market every 2 years. You think about the biggest events in this city that draws people from all over Victoria, if not even interstate, the Brunswick Festival. If anything, that can probably go all the way up to Bell Street. That's how big this festival can be. I appreciate that representing the northern part of the city. Yes, we should have a festival in Pascoe Vale. We should have a bigger festival in Glenroy. But I find that with the Brunswick Festival and the Coburg Night Market, people from the northern part of the city still come to it regardless. And think about what our ratepayers get for their rates. If we start moving the two biggest festivals in this community, and there are so many other councils that are trying to emulate and copy us because they know how successful it is, whether we do it in-house, whether we get external contractors to do it, they do a marvellous job. Our staff have done a great job. It is one of the premier festivals. It's an icon, and people interstate know about the Brunswick Festival. People all over Australia know about what we're doing in terms of the longest strip in the southern hemisphere. We're closing it pretty much, so we're not closing the street down entirely, but we are generating so much economic activity, and we are engaging people. It's the best time of the year, and in terms of the Coburg Night Market, another one which people actually look forward to and pencil it in their calendars. So I think we do need probably a bit more time to discuss this, but I'm always going to be in favour no matter what the decision that others make, and I respect that, but I'll be in favour of not moving it to every 2 years.
So I'm going to put a procedural motion to defer this item until early next year, if I have a seconder. Councillor Davidson. And I don't think I need to keep speaking.
Can I move an amendment to the deferral?
You can propose one.
Yes. If we could make the defer it for 2 months.
Yeah, no, that doesn't suit me at all.
Well, we should vote on the amendment.
Well, if you have a seconder for your amendment,
if I have a
then we can do
seconder.
that. Yeah, thanks.
So
Councillor
it would
Pulford.
be deferring it till July.
Okay, sure. And would you
to
like
enable some community month of community consultation.
Yeah, and would you like to speak to that?
Yes. I would like to speak to that. I feel we need to provide some certainty to the community, and also I think some certainty to the staff, so that staff aren't wasting oodles of hours on something that may or may not get up. I think there does need to be a clear plan rather than, staff, not knowing which way things are going to go in the future. I think this process has been really bad, where a lot of people have only found out through the media once the council agenda was made public. And it means that maybe some of the groups and individuals that normally follow council meetings and agendas heard about what was happening, but a lot of other people didn't hear about it. I'm certainly open to keeping the Coburg Night Markets annual. I felt maybe I should compromise a bit on that point, but I'm also open to that as well. I think I agree with the comments made by Councillor Yildiz. But I think we need to resolve this year rather than dawdling till next year.
Thank you, Councillor Walton. Councillor Pulford?
Yeah, just to say, I think if the point for deferral is to allow for more conversation, then a couple of months should be fine. If the point of deferral is to take it out of the state election year, in our council term, we have 3 years out of our 4 years that have other level elections. So I think we need to give our staff certainty. We need to give the community certainty. 750 people have been activated in the space of a few days. So I'm very supportive of. It sounds like there does need to be more conversations amongst the councillor group about what are our priorities. Like, we obviously don't have unlimited money. We need to make decisions. But we could, in the space of the next month, have a chat at a briefing. We could put out consultation. I'm happy to defer it by 2 months rather than for 8 months.
Thank you. And then the amendment was Councillor Bolton and Councillor. No, Councillor Bolton hasn't seconded that. You have proposed an amendment here, which is what we're doing. And we've had. So you can't amend an amendment. Is that, you can't amend an amendment? Because I put an amendment that Councillor Bolton then wanted to amend. Oh, sorry, yeah. Yes, which Councillor Bolton wanted to amend, but can you not amend the procedural? Yeah. And you can't amend. Yeah, and so you can't amend a procedural motion to defer. I think that the government could be silent on that. If you were mindful, do accept it and that was can. But otherwise, the way it's moved, cannot. So we go, we return to the state. Yes. So I'm going to put. So I haven't actually spoken to the procedural, have I? Because there was an amendment proposed, or I did. All right, I'm just going to put the procedural motion to defer, the words are there a minute ago, to defer until February 2027 for the purpose of seeking further information and consultation where required. Yes, you can ask a question.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask 2 questions. One was, how much time would council officers think is a reasonable amount of time to do a community consultation and come back to council?
Thank you, Councillor. I'd say that July is too soon, so I would say 3 to 4 months minimum to do it properly with the reporting at each end, analysis of data, all of that sort of stuff.
Right, so I'm just going to put the procedural to the vote. All those in favour? This is a procedural motion to defer this motion that Councillor Bolton has put. All those in favour? Against? Okay, so we're not deferring. So we'll continue to debate. Councillor Theodosis.
Can I please move to defer it for 4 months?
So are you putting a procedural motion to defer this for 4 months? Yeah, yeah. And so you're putting a procedural motion to defer this motion for 4 months? And you're seconding, is that right, Councillor Yildiz? Right, would you like to speak to it, Councillor Theodosis?
Just that I think I was supportive of a deferral to have a community consultation and to get some more information. And if council officers are happy with, they think 4 months is a reasonable amount of time, then I'm happy with that.
Councillor Yildiz?
I'm just going to go on the advice from our director. He would know his staff probably need a few more months to unwrap this and see what the consequences would be or could be, also financially too. So I'm going to respect what the director mentioned in terms of 4 months. I think that's fair.
Sure. And so I'll speak against your proposal, Councillor Theodosis, which is that, again, I think this is becoming purely political, and I think it's unfair that we make decisions like this, which are deeply emotive for the community, that cost a ton of money a month before councillors, or a minute before councillors take leave so that they can run for the state election. I think it's unfair to the residents of the city. I think the fact that it's very north and very south is a real problem, and I will be voting against the deferral, but also against the substantive motion, if we get there.
I've got a question as well of the officer, of the director.
What's your question, Councillor Bolton?
My question is, a deferral without specifying there needs to be consultation about the Sydney Road Street Party and the Coburg night markets will mean, according to the officer's recommendation, that consultation will only be about a new Festival of the North. So I think that would have to be specified in the motion.
Is that your question?
Yeah, it's a question. Well, it sort of is a question statement. I would like to know from the director, if there is a deferral like this, do we need to specify that the consultation needs to include Sydney Road Street Party and Coburg night markets, because the current officer recommendation only recommends consultation about a Festival of the North.
Thanks, Councillor Bolton. Look, it's a matter of interpretation. My interpretation of that deferral motion is that it infers wider consultation, wider views, not just the consultation that was proposed.
Great. Councillor Svensson, yeah, ask a question.
My question is, if we are to defer the report, whether it's for 4 months or even for longer, are there financial implications to not making this change currently? Do we have financial implications on the budget for not making the decision tonight?
Thanks, Councillor. There's not financial implications now, but festivals are big beasts, so the kind of sooner, we need to be planning a year or 2 years out, so that's probably the key decider, is when it would impact, then when we'd put operational things into place in terms of changing the program.
And then I'll ask you a question as well. If we go with the status quo, is it less of a financial implication than the proposed motion, or is the proposed motion likely to cost more money than not doing anything?
The one further up on the screen.
Yeah.
So that loses, removes 1 year of Coburg night market, which frees up some capital, some funds to do expanded festival program in the north. Not to the extent that the officers were imagining in the report, but it would allow some.
Yeah, thanks. I think what I'll do is put Councillor Theodosis's procedural motion to defer for 4 months to the vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. So this will come back in 4 months. Yeah. So all those in favour? Councillor Yildiz, Councillor Theodosis, Councillor Svensson, Councillor Pulford, Councillor Davidson, Councillor Iwasaki, Councillor Irvin, Councillor Bolton, and Councillor Miles. And I've abstained, so no votes against. Great. The next item on our agenda is 7.4 power pole mounted electric vehicle chargers. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Pulford and a seconder. Councillor Irvin, would you like to speak, Councillor Pulford?
Yeah, this is great work done over a long period of time by council officers to try and find a solution for electric vehicles that our residents own, but they don't have any off-street car parking, so they can't actually charge their EV on their property. And so some people have been running power cords across footpaths, which can be trip hazards and also a bit dangerous for other reasons too. And so council officers, in trying to support the uptake of EVs, have been looking for different solutions on how people who don't have off-street car parking, and lots of people in Brunswick are in that situation, including the house that I'm renting. So you'd have to either do the MacGyver situation, or you have to go and find a public car parking charger like what we've got here at council. So this is actually bringing in some of those, a solution to that issue, which is power pole mounted electric vehicle chargers. So they're strapped to power poles on our streets, and anyone can drive up and charge their car for a while through them. It's been a lot of complicated work, and it's also involved lots of different bureaucracy, including the power distributors, and that's why it's been so delayed, but just really pleased that there's progress. So this report, it endorses phase 1 of a trial for this new technology for 8 selected sites. It also looks at the phase 2 with up to 20 more sites over the coming years in our city. They're predominantly in the south because of the reasons we were talking about, not a lot of off-street car parking, but in discussions with councillors, officers are also looking for more spots up in the north to help people all over the city make the transition. And that might be in like one of our car parks for sporting facilities, for example. So yeah, just really pleased we're making progress here, and apologies, there's a lot of residents who've been following this very closely and have been really frustrated with the lack of progress, but yeah, pleased that we are making some here this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Pulford. Councillor Irvin.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank residents who did get involved with the consultation on this and who reached out, I guess, directly to councillors. It's always really useful when you do that. I know that some of these sites did have concerns. Obviously, you know, the streets of Brunswick kind of predate the car. They're very old, narrow streets, and, you know, space is constrained. So I could understand some of the issues that residents had, and all of that feedback is useful. And it helps us, you know, continue with this trial in locations that are more suitable, while I guess acknowledging that at some point we will have to look at, you know, ways to charge on those narrower streets as well. So yeah, looking forward to seeing the outcomes of this, and thank you to the officers for the work.
Thank you, Councillor Irvin. Are there councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Or any other councillors who would like to speak in support? I'll just briefly reiterate what Councillor Pulford mentioned about the fact that when you look at the map of where these things might be, there is just more demand south of Bell Street, simply because there is less off-street car parking, because it was something that didn't make sense to me until it was explained to me, and I think that it's probably the most valuable thing that I've learnt about this program. So I imagine this will be something we can all agree on, and I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Bolton, are you voting?
Can't, because I was, well, yes, I read this. I know.
Against?
Yeah, I'm in favour.
I declare that carried unanimously. Thanks, everybody. So the next one is 7.5, evaluation trial road closure Barrow Street, Coburg. Councillor Irvin, I'm happy to second this. Councillor Irvin, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So this is a report coming back to us just about the evaluation of a trial road closure on Barrow Street, just at the intersection with Harding Street. So this is something that has been identified as a measure we should be implementing through the Moving Around Merri-bek strategy, which is our transport strategy. And this strategy also includes the Streets for People framework, which has identified a network of local streets that really should be prioritised for improvements. So Barrow Street is one of those streets that's on our Streets for People sort of plan, and Harding Street is as well. And so we regularly receive requests from residents for street closures. It's a fairly common response if you have high volumes of traffic on your street, and there are really, adverse sort of amenity and safety impacts. And we do review these requests and prioritise them and just see how they fit in with our overall network and the impacts they could have. And Barrow Street has been a long-standing request from the community for a closure point. It is part of the East Brunswick Shimmy, so that connects Coburg to Melbourne CBD for people cycling. It also has 3 schools that are either on it or that use Barrow Street to access the schools. And as we heard earlier tonight from residents, 2 of those schools have very high rates of students walking and riding to school. So in 2024, Council resolved to trial a road closure, and this was installed in January last year. And I'm a huge fan of using trials to test out changes to our streets, as they really allow us to actually experience what these changes are like and what the street can be like. And really importantly for the report tonight, it also allows us to identify any unintended consequences. And so throughout the trial, we've been monitoring both Barrow Street and the surrounding local streets. And we have, this is important because it just shows what the impact is, and also gives us ideas of what else needs to be done to make it work, as well as it can. And we've heard concerns from residents on Coburg Street, which is a parallel street, and that's reflected in what we've seen in the traffic monitoring as well. And this doesn't mean that the trial hasn't worked. It just means that we need to do more to ensure that there aren't these negative impacts on parallel streets. So officers have already started implementing additional traffic calming, and extending this trial for a year will allow us to continue monitoring the impact of that, see if additional measures are needed, and will also allow us to engage on the designs for the Harding Street Streets for People project too. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Irvin. I think it's important to consider extending the trial because there are probably a few people or specifically a childcare in the neighbourhood that maybe is very car-centric because people come to that childcare from all across Melbourne. And I think that extending the trial might give us a better opportunity to engage with that community a bit more, to help them understand that, like the neighbourhoods maybe they drive from, this is actually a neighbourhood where people are walking to school or their dogs or whatever, that there needs to be a bit of an education piece around slowing down those big cars that Helen mentioned earlier, to fully understand the impact of that kind of driving. And Barrow Street at the south end is very wide, and it's an easy kind of location where you can go fast. And I think that maybe there might be all kinds of different treatments that we might come up with, like maybe even some tree planting down the middle or any number of different things when we explore it a bit more. And I think about this from the perspective of growing up in K Street in Carlton, which intersects with Canning Street, which is a bicycle superhighway. When the freeway was built, the planners at the time understood that what would happen as the cars came off the freeway and up Princess Street is that they would just rat run all the way through all of those streets. And they did a very effective and canny way of closing streets so that there just were no rat runs. And I think that, as has been suggested, this might be the sort of outcome that we get to. So people can still drive to their homes, drive their kids to school or to the childcare, but it will be a situation where we all just need to slow down and contemplate each other. It's getting crowded, and we need to understand that as we allow people still to use cars, but also allow people who are able to ride bikes to do so in a more safe way, which do also take cars off the road, making it easier to drive. So I think when I heard that the idea was to extend the trial, I was quite thrilled, actually. Are there other councillors that... Yeah, Councillor Walton?
I've actually got an amendment.
Sure.
So my amendment is that at the end of point 2, we add a sentence, in addition, ensures that traffic counting is undertaken at the narrower southern end of Coburg Street, in addition to other parts of Coburg Street, and assess if any traffic calming measures are needed at the southern end.
And are you happy with that, Councillor? Yeah, that's fine.
If it's acceptable, I'll speak in support of the whole motion. I do support the trial being extended for 12 months. for all the reasons which have been outlined so far. I mean, one of the key reasons why I supported the road closure trial initially was because of the number of schools in the area, primary schools in particular, but also Coburg High School. But I do remember when we voted on the trial, there were a lot of people from the southern end of Coburg Street, which I understand is narrower than the northern ends of Coburg Street. So, there were already a lot of concerns from that end. It was more people from the southern end of Coburg Street rather than the northern end who spoke at those council meetings. And maybe council officers, I don't know the location of the traffic counters. I don't know if we do it because, sometimes you can have high levels of traffic in one area and lower levels in other places and higher levels in other places, depending on where people turn. But I think given the dangers in the southern end of Coburg Street, I think we need to make sure there's a traffic counter there as well as wherever else we've got them, if it's not there already, and if there can be any traffic calming measures in that southern end, because I think the resident is still here who was talking about some of the problems that exist, safety issues, because we certainly don't want to make one street safer and another street very unsafe. So I think we need to look at that in tandem with the trial.
Are there other councillors who would like to speak? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Are you voting, Councillor Yildiz? Okay. Against? And would you like your abstention recorded? You don't mind? Okay, I declare that carried. Thank you. 7.6, proposal sale of land rear of 436 to 442 Sydney Road, Coburg, final decision. Councillor Svensson, and a seconder, Councillor Iwasaki. Councillor Svensson, would you like to speak?
Yes, as a general rule, I'm usually not a big fan of selling off council land, but this is a weird little section. It's a very odd little piece of land that is at the back of a bunch of shops that are on Sydney Road and then back onto Russell Street in Coburg. And it's such a weird piece of land that you wouldn't have thought that it was actually a street. If you look at it on a map, it looks like it's actually part of the sort of backyards of these commercial properties on Sydney Road, so much so that those commercial properties on Sydney Road have been treating it like a backyard. They have built plumbing in it, they have built outbuildings on top of it, assuming that it was part of their land. So now they are offering to actually pay us money for the land that they are already using, which is wonderful. So essentially we are selling off this very odd sliver, and if you'd like to try and understand what I mean by how strange this land is, have a look at the report and you'll see that it probably couldn't be used for absolutely anything else except for the backyards of these commercial buildings. So it's kind of making right something that perhaps should have happened a little while ago.
Well done. Councillor Iwasaki.
So Councillor Svensson is only in favour of selling off public land if it's oddly shaped. Noted.
There are other councillors who would like to speak. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried unanimously. 7.7, Councillor Davidson, the Merri-bek Community Awards. And a seconder? Councillor Iwasaki. Councillor Davidson.
Yeah, I'd really like to move this report, and I'd like to also note the office's work in making the categories...
Is your microphone on, Councillor?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I'd like to move this report and also note the office's work that has gone into this, where we have been able to consolidate some categories and really highlight the good work that goes on in the community every 12 months. There's a few categories I'd like to point out, and I think Alicia may have left tonight, but also we have the Environmental Sustainability Award in recognition of John Engelhardt. So that is a new category, but it's memorialising his continued work and contribution to the climate and to Merri-bek. We also have the Volunteer of the Year Award, which is an award that generates a lot of interest within the community. and also the Police Leadership Award for the great work that police officers in the community do when they show excellence in their field. I know that we are reaching more people this year with the new revamped categories, and we're encouraging a wide range of people to put forward people they nominate, people that they think are standout members of the community, and groups as well. So it's a really exciting award, and I am grateful that we're moving this report tonight.
Councillor Iwasaki?
I think Councillor Davidson did a really good job speaking to it. Thank you.
I'd like to propose an amendment, which is probably been circulated, which talks about appointing extra councillors as the Merri-bek Community Recognition Committee for the 2025-6 mayoral year. And I know that there are some councillors who've suggested they were interested in joining. Is that amenable?
It is, but because I'm also a councillor who's interested in joining, can I still move the report?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So the names were Councillor, I think it was Councillor Irvin and Councillor Davidson were interested in being added to the existing committee, but are there other councillors who would also be interested? Yeah, okay, that's fine. So that's amenable?
Yes.
Great. Well, I'll speak to it as well, just very briefly, and to the amendment, and thank you. At the moment, there was only 3 councillors, including myself, and it's a really exciting opportunity to go through all of those nominations and see, again, all of the incredible stuff that goes on in the city. And even though not everybody can win, I think that this is a really special time to understand what a real privilege it is to be a councillor and a mayor in my case, and other councillors have had a go of that as well, just to really see how much incredible stuff goes on and what people are actually doing out there in the community that makes the whole place work so well. So I think that I'd like to commend the update of what's happened with this new version of the Merri-bek Awards, and especially the piece around John Englert, because I know that John is sorely missed from the gallery and also from the city more generally for his important work. So it seems like, I think John's won that award at least one time anyway, probably more. And the times he didn't win, we probably wanted to give it to him. So, yeah. Are there other councillors who would like to speak? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried unanimously. And move on to 7.8, which is the response to notice of motion making Sydney Road safer, greener and more accessible. Councillor Pulford, and do you have a seconder? Councillor Irvin.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, officers, for your work on this report. This is responding to a notice of motion we moved earlier this year, looking at how we can strengthen council's advocacy around Sydney Road. For a long time, we've been wanting changes to Sydney Road to make it safer and more accessible and greener for everybody. And we've been advocating for that, including when I was mayor. I talked to ministers about that and local MPs as well. But I feel like there's an urgency to change on Sydney Road, and that is the Brunswick level crossing removals. So when those level crossing removals happen, the Artfield Shared Path is going to be closed, and we're going to lose our community's main form of, or only form of accessible transport up and down our community like that. And so there's a need to make sure we have accessible tram stops on Sydney Road, at least a couple, in time for that, the level crossing removals. And I think that should also trigger a broader change on Sydney Road. There are various views on what that future of Sydney Road should look like. And I think there's broad recognition that, and it kind of talks about this in the report, that my view is that we need political commitment for change on Sydney Road, and then we can work, there can be a big process about what that looks like. And maybe through that process, an option is come up with that a lot of people support, or maybe there will be differences of opinions, but that it kicks off that process from actually getting detailed and actually happening. And there's been some really exciting progress in that in the recent state budget, the Victorian Labor government have announced that they'll fund some design for accessible tram stops on Sydney Road. I think I'm excited by that because that's the first step of change in a long, long time. But I also understand that, that's only the first step is designing them. And we've had other instances around Melbourne, like in Yarra, where the government has funded design of accessible tram stops but hasn't necessarily funded the delivery of them. So we do need to keep the pressure up in our advocacy. So this notice of motion seeks to strengthen our arm in that way. Officers looked at various ways we could strengthen, get a lot more understanding of the car parking availability, its usage, and also how people get to shops on Sydney Road. It's all quite expensive, and I don't think it's really our role as council to fund it. So I'm pleased to be supporting option 3, which is being referred to our budget tonight of $200,000. It's going to be a tough ask for us to find that $200,000 in our budget. I'm really keen to do what I can, particularly given there seems to be political momentum coming from the government by announcing this design funding for the accessible tram stops. I feel like now's a chance for us to invest and act. And officers have put a lot of thought in why change might not have happened on Sydney Road yet, and thought about the practical things like clearways and accessible tram stop design that might be the trigger for further change. So I feel like, yeah, I know we've got a challenge to try and include it in our budget, but really pleased with this work. Happy to support this recommendation, and hope that councillors can help find some money in the budget to fund this, given the urgency.
Thank you, Councillor Pulford. Councillor Evan.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, really just to add that, this is a really good sort of notice of motion and a good sort of project to look at Sydney Road. We've heard tonight how beloved Sydney Road is. It's such an important part of our community, and it's definitely needs, some more love. I think it is the accessible tram stops. It's also having safer cycling, and really just making it a more comfortable place to hang out, to socialise, to eat outdoors. All of those things. It really could become an amazing boulevard in our city, instead of being, I guess, really used as, a movement corridor at the moment. Despite being called Sydney Road, it's no longer the road to Sydney, and so we should really make it a road for us. Thank you.
And sorry, can I just clarify, Mayor, that I was moving that one that had a couple of extra points? Oh, just one extra point. Or
Yeah.
two, no. Yes. One.
Yeah, thank you. That was circulated this afternoon. Thank
Yes.
you. Are there councillors who would like to speak against the motion? And then councillors in support. Councillor Bolton, did you want to speak in support? Yep, thank you. Go for it.
I'm in support of this, and I think it is time, with the fact that the upfield train line is going to be closed down for a considerable period of time, up to 18 months, which is a very long time, to have no accessible public transport in this corridor, but also for the upfield shared path to be closed. So that means there'll be thousands of cyclists travelling on Sydney Road because the detours are way out of the way and not at all direct. And so, that's just going to be a reality, as well as bus replacement or train replacement buses and all of that. But I think, I do think also agree. So I think that fact does mean we have to look at Sydney Road again. We haven't revisited the issues of how to try and work out a solution for all the competing interests on Sydney Road, and also the fact that the state government has announced this money for design for accessible tram stops is important. And I notice, part of the motion is assessing barriers to previous revitalisation upgrade efforts. And I think that is important, because I think sometimes in the past there hasn't been sufficient recognition of some of those barriers, and therefore they've just been ignored, which then causes uproar. For instance, I know that there are shops that don't have, I don't know how many, but there are some shops that don't have rear lane access. And, maybe the landlord has rented out the back shop to a different business, whereas the front shop, relies on Sydney Road for deliveries. But I know in Europe they've dealt with all of these sorts of issues. So I think we need to look at those things, plus you know, I can also think from a disability or frailty point of view of, certain issues I know at the moment with clearways where sometimes some accessible taxis have to stop in the middle of the block in a clearway to pick someone up who's frail who can't walk a full length of the block. So there are those issues, and, you know, I'd certainly get, suggest that we should take into account the needs of delivery drivers as part of this, because often we think about the local community, the commuters, whether they're cyclists or pedestrians or drivers and shopkeepers, but we often overlook the workers who have to deliver goods to shops, and I think they need to be included in any future consultations about, you know, Sydney Road. But I'm really in favour of this because we need to try and create a safe space for people who won't be able to use the uphill bike path
Thank you,
or
Councillor
shed
Bolton.
path during Sky Rail.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Are there other councillors who would like to speak? I'm also really supportive of this, and specifically because the option 3 talks about a focused corridor upgrade study, and it talks a lot about the community engagement around where the accessible tram stops might be. It's a very complicated road which has to be a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and so it is that, which is probably why it's taken such a long time to resolve. And I want to reassure councillors, and some of you will know that one of the privileges of being a mayor is that as soon as that announcement came out, we quickly put together a couple of letters to say, really great to hear about this, have no idea. The subtext is we don't know where that money's allocated to, but it's great that there's an announcement, and we're absolutely ready to collaborate, or, you know, if it's a situation where we need to give part of the footpath away to facilitate an accessible tram stop, or to, I think this talks to the fact that we're ready to do that if it's what the community thinks we can facilitate. I think that as somebody who never rides on the upfield bike path because it's horrible, and I always ride on Sydney Road, but I do so expecting every car that goes past me to kill me so I don't get killed, I think that more bikes on the road are not going to be a bad thing. But what I think is more of a priority is having access for, you know, Christian and Emilio and the people who started this campaign about, you know, like accessible transport. You know, you can catch the tram from the city to basically my place, but you kind of can't stop anywhere in between, and I'm north of Bell Street. So that seems kind of ridiculous, and I don't think it needs to be, every single stop needs to be accessible. Bless you, Chris. But I do think that it would be a good idea if we can manage to collaborate with the state government to deliver more accessible tram stops than exist right now. So I commend this and the initial work as well. Are there other councillors who would like to speak? No, I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried unanimously. 7.9, the draft financial management policy. Councillor Irvin. And a seconder, Councillor Svensson. Councillor Irvin, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I'll just sort of explain, I guess, what's going on here. Basically, this is a new policy that is kind of bringing together a few of our existing policies, kind of just bringing basically our financial management under one kind of umbrella policy. So this covers off, you know, various aspects of how council continues to have really sustainable finances, and, you know, I think as councillors we all benefit so much from this. It's amazing working, you know, for a council and a community that really has such good financial management. It allows us to do things that we really want to do and invest in major projects and invest in the community. So it's, you know, it's because of policies like this that we're able to do that. And this essentially, I guess, streamlines the process and brings it together under one sort of framework and policy. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councillor Svensson? No? Are there other councillors who would like to speak? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried unanimously. 7.10, the Financial Management Report for the period ended 31st of March 2026. Councillor Svensson and Councillor Irvin. Councillor Svensson, would you like to speak?
The previous item set out the policy that we work towards, the rules and values that we abide by when thinking about how we spend your money, and this report shows you what we spent your money on.
Thank you, Councillor Irvin. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. 7.11, the Year 1 Council Action Plan 2025-26 third quarter performance report. Councillor Irvin and Councillor Theodosis. Councillor Irvin, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So each quarter we do report on our council action plan, which is all the actions that kind of have come out from our council plan. And again, this is a really good way to kind of see what council is actually delivering and how we're measuring up against what we said that we would be doing. And it's really great to see that, you know, we're already at a point where we're starting to achieve actions and kind of tick them off. The vast majority of our actions are in progress and on track, and then a few have come off track or on hold or proposed for withdrawal. Just, I guess, an ever-changing landscape, and quite often things come up that are kind of out of our control. So yes, this is a really good report just for seeing what we're delivering on.
Thank you. Councillor Theodosis.
Yeah, just touch that if you haven't had a look at our council action plan, definitely go have a look at it. There's 5 different themes that touch on climate, an inclusive, healthy communities, beautiful, livable city, and thriving economy and culture, and also engaging and responsible council.
Thank you. Are there other councillors who would like to speak? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? I wonder where Councillor Mars has gone. Declare that carried. Yeah. Yeah, he's on the other side of the building. Not well. He's quite unwell, yeah. But he's here, which is good. I declare that carried, in case I didn't mention that. And 7.12, Friends of Alayu Annual Report, Councillor Pulford and Councillor Iwasaki.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the annual report of the Friends of Alayu Group, which is the committee that we share with the City of Hume. I think Glenys Romanis talked really passionately and comprehensively to it earlier this evening. The council that sits on that committee, and they run an annual trivia event, they sell coffee, and they support scholarships for young people in Alayu in Timor-Leste. So it was really interesting to hear from Glenys tonight that originally there were hundreds of groups and there's only 26 left, and I think we can hear through Glenys our community's gratitude for being one of the councils that is sticking in there in the solidarity with Alayu and with Timor-Leste, one of our closest neighbours. Thanks.
Great. Councillor Iwasaki? No. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. 7.13, Open Council Resolutions Report. I didn't see who was first. Councillor Irvin, and seconded by Councillor Svensson.
This is another regular report that comes to council, and this basically just summarises and gives an update on any of our open council resolutions. This includes petitions that have come to us from residents, councillor officer reports, and actions relating to notices of motion. So it's a really great opportunity. If you've seen something come up in a previous meeting and you haven't seen anything since then, it just gives you a little snapshot of where these are up to. You know, sometimes we've sort of written a letter, we're waiting for advice back, or we've progressed designs and we're, you know, shortly going to consultation. There are sort of a number of stages that projects are up to. So it's really useful just to see where things are at.
Councillor Svensson. Thank you. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. And move to 7.14, Governance Report, May 2024, Cyclical Report. And there's a slight amendment to make, I believe. Councillor Svensson. And I did see Councillor Evans, sorry.
Yes, so I'll be moving the amended report, which is just correcting a slight typo. But this is another one of our regular reports that comes back. It has things like minutes of our advisory committees and groups, so you can see what they're up to, what they're talking about. It has records of our meetings, who was at our meetings, who was at our briefings. And it also has, if you've ever asked a question at public question time and there hasn't been time to get to your question, the answers will be in here. So all questions do get an answer to them, but sometimes if there's not enough time, they end up in this report. So please look there if you're wondering where they are.
Councillor Irvin. Thank you. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. Okay, 7.15 contract variation PA 2026-1 2707/0846 security and cash collection services. Do I have a mover? Oh, Councillor Irvin, and a seconder, Councillor Svensson. Councillor Irvin, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I'll just briefly speak to it to say, I guess quite often we have contracts come through the chamber for our sort of approval. So this is just a contract that relates to various security measures and cash collection services. And yes, sort of the details are there in the report.
Councillor Svensson? No? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. And then we can now move to the notices of motion. The first notice of motion we have this evening is 8.1, the footbridge across Merri Creek in Southern Faulkner. Councillor Bolton. And Councillor Iwasaki to second.
Okay, thank you very much for agreeing to second. So this is a motion. It's not a really definitive motion because it is about receiving a report on what it would cost to determine a service need, i.e. the need of the community for such a footbridge across Merri Creek in Southern Faulkner, and to assess the cost of undertaking a feasibility study for a footbridge across the Merri Creek from Faulkner to Reservoir near Lawn Street, with the exact location to be determined. I mean, I think people in the community who are pushing for this idea recognise that it won't be fast, and certainly in talking to the director, they were sort of saying, you know, it won't be fast because, you know, there's so many projects on the plate of the transport section that we'd have to make a decision what to drop in order to do this. But I think this is important, and I think we heard the arguments from residents tonight, is that when there's a barrier like a creek and there's no way across, then people often don't know what's on the other side and don't necessarily know, therefore, how valuable it would be to be able to, you know, cross the creek at that point. And in one of the points that the resident Andrea Bunting mentioned earlier is that the 561 bus along Newlands Road goes to La Trobe Uni. There are many young people who live in Faulkner who go to La Trobe Uni, and that would be one way actually to get there without relying on all of the slow routes around to Marnie's Road or wherever to get there. So, I mean, I think there are a lot of reasons why this would be useful. It really isn't feasible. Like, I think I gathered something like 2.5 kilometres from Lawn Street to the nearest bridge across the Merri Creek, which is at Hare Street in sort of northern central kind of Faulkner. There used to be a footbridge behind the toxic site, the Agent Orange site in Faulkner on McBride Street, and that's no longer exists anymore. It used to go to the back of Lakeside Secondary College, which also no longer exists. It was closed down in the massive slaughter of schools across Victoria in the mid-90s. And it's also a fair distance down to Bakers Road. I think if people in Faulkner knew what was on the other side of the creek, there would be a lot of interest in this. And I think there's a growing interest amongst community members, especially in the south of Fawkner, to be able to get across to the other side of the creek. And from one of the residents who spoke earlier, there's also an interest in Reservoir to come across this site. So I think there are good reasons for this project, but we have to go through this process first of working out a report about assessing service need and feasibility studies and so forth.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Councillor Svensson. Oh, sorry, Councillor Iwasaki, sorry. I just will speak to commend this motion because the Bakers Road Bridge is actually incredibly inaccessible as well, and I know that it's important that we consider that the environmental impacts and the financial costs will be astronomical for granting access from Fawkner to Reservoir. I do think it's quite important. And I want to correct one point that Councillor Bolton made about Lakeside, which actually closed in 2009 because my mum taught there, so that wasn't a Jeff Kennett slaughtered school. It's hung on a little bit longer, but the point is even if that school was still there, the point is that kids from Fawkner couldn't get across to it anyway unless they want to get wet feet. So I think it'll be interesting to see where this gets to. I think that we're in a situation where we can expect to see these kind of bridges keep on happening, and even though it might not have been what the Friends of the Merri Creek intended back in the day, access like the Edgars Creek Bridge, which happened last time I was the city mayor and was quite contentious, the fact that so many people can now ride big bikes full of kids across to Newlands Primary from North Coburg, where I live, is actually really important, and that east-west access is something that Merri-bek doesn't do so well, and I think that wherever we can try and improve access, not just north-south, but getting east-west to different areas of the neighbourhood and to the next city, it's going to be a good project to try and embark on. Are there any councillors who would like to speak against it? Otherwise, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And declare that carried unanimously. 8.2, the Merri-bek Creatives Workshop. So I'm moving this and Councillor Iwasaki can second. So this notice of motion is just because we have an incredible diversity of different creatives in the city, and I think that on a lot of occasions, they don't have the opportunities because they're often just scrimping to make a coin to connect with each other. And I think that there might be deep value if council can facilitate a kind of a big workshop meeting where everybody can understand what they're each into, because I suspect there are probably quite a few opportunities for people to collaborate on stuff, and also to help us understand how we're going with our art strategy and the first policy that sits underneath that. And I know that, as a councillor who spent some time on the Arts Advisory Board last year, and who still thinks about the arts, even though I'm not a practicing arts practitioner, the more that we can do to support the arts in our community, the better, I think. So that's where this has come from. Councillor Iwasaki.
Yeah, very happy to second this this motion. Mayor Abood and I have worked together on a lot of art initiatives, both on the advisory committee and the portfolio, and we've both met with so many different artists from different practitioners to try to do more with less and try to facilitate all the issues that the shortcomings of our council has in certain aspects of the arts. So we've both been really having an eye to and an ear to everything in regards to how we can better facilitate those discussions among the people who are maybe not having the best luck or opportunities to get those across. So yeah, hopefully this is one part of that discussion, as well as opening the Brunswick Town Hall for better access to community. And yeah, it's a great opportunity to be able to support the arts in our city.
Great, thanks. Are there councillors who would like to speak? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. and then move on to 8.3, open Fawkner outdoor pool year round. Councillor Bolton. And the seconder,
So-
Councillor Davidson.
I've got a slightly revised motion, which might be more amenable. So anyway, so my revised wording, that's the revised wording. So the reason I'm moving this, and then I think, we will also have to look at, other pools as well later on. But there is a group of early morning lap swimmers in Fawkner who really embrace council's trial for early morning lap swimming or early opening. And, as we heard from the resident who spoke earlier, a lot of people work full time and can't swim at the times when the pool's open. And people need the outdoor pool because there's so many different swimming lessons and exercise classes and so forth in the indoor pool that it's not possible to do early morning lap swimming in the indoor pool. You need the outdoor pool for this. And you also need the longer 50-metre pool. And despite the fact that the YMCA never really publicised the early morning trial for any of the pools, it was really popular, word of mouth, really popular and got around. Now, no doubt, if they had someone like an intrepid social media person like Kate Hall with Coburg Olympic Outdoor Pool, who did a fantastic job with advertising the early morning trials for Coburg Olympic, I think if there was someone in the Fawkner area who was able to do that, that would be great. But not everyone and not every community's got someone like a Kate Hall, tragically, because she's, plays such a wonderful role with these sort of issues. And so really council does need to respond to these needs of this community. Now, the outdoor pool is already closed, so they know it can't really be reopened over winter. But they really want to have the outdoor pool opened earlier in the year, like 1st of September, spring, so that we can make use of a really fantastic facility, and with a view to it being open all year round, and especially for early morning lap swimming. I'd also, like, on a personal note, I think it would be great maybe for council officers to have a meet up with a group of people who are mostly women, but maybe it's not all women, who are doing the early morning lap swimming, because I think just to get a bit more of a sense of things, because it's also crazy, given we've got all of this active transport policies, etc. If people are driving to other local government areas or driving to Brunswick to access a outdoor pool that's open all year round. Well, this year you can't do that because it's only Oak Park. But, some people have switched from Oak Park to Fawkner because for people who can do it during the daytime rather than early morning.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton.
Because all the school carnivals make Oak Park impossible to use often. So it's... I just think maybe a little bit more
Time, Councillor.
Fine-grained
you.
detail. Okay, that's right.
Councillor Davidson.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Yeah, I definitely support the idea of exploring having the Fawkner outdoor pool open. I think looking at the budget implications and the demand as well will be very important. And also having a measured approach to consider all year round, but also the alternatives of having from, say, October, September through to just after Easter. I think any way that we can encourage people to become more active before work hours and after work hours is really important, and offering a safe environment for that to occur in is definitely beneficial. I think we live such a sedentary lifestyle. Getting people moving more often is only going to benefit our community's health as a whole. So I'll definitely support any avenue that offers this kind of fitness.
Great.
Councillor Theodosis.
I was just wondering if a slight amendment might be amenable to the mover and seconder. I'm just wondering if it's worth also referring this to the aquatic strategy so that there's an overarching view over all of our aquatics and including this in there.
This was raised, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the aquatic strategy looks at operational management. But I might defer to the director who will probably be able to answer that.
Yes, so that's right. So the aquatic strategy is broadly about, I'm going to call it bricks and mortar, but it's tiles and whatever else of pools. The operations are generally covered under our strategy, which we require our provider, who, it's a new provider coming in, one of their first tasks is to develop a strategy that looks at operations and programs and things that they offer. Does that answer the question, Councillor? Yeah.
There are other councillors who would like to speak. Councillor Irvin.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Bolton, for putting this notice of motion forward. I really just want to, say how much I support this idea. As someone who swims at Brunswick Baths, I'm really suffering at the moment with it being closed, and so I certainly see that where there are pools available, for like all day and year-round swimming, they are well used, and I'm sure that this would apply to pools in the north as well. And I think hearing from the community tonight, it'd be great to see more opportunities for swimming.
Thank you, Councillor Irvin. I just want to add that I hope that the report includes the pieces of work about where the bike shimmies are to get to Fawkner, what the bus timetables look like that would service people trying to get the bus up there, because we spent an astronomical amount of money on this incredible facility, and I think that all of the different ways that we can look at facilitating people to actually get there and use it would be really valuable. And a few councillors have talked about driving to other pools, but Fawkner is very car-centric and you can't catch the train there, and there is no tram, and the buses could probably be better. So I think that I'm absolutely supportive of the idea of activating the pool for more people to access, but I think that the report really needs to be able to have a look at it in a really holistic way to make sure that people understand not only about advertising when the pool will be open, but how to get there and that sort of thing, so that it has its best chance at succeeding. So I look forward to us being able to activate that asset, sweat that asset. I've talked about that before with the pools. So, yeah, it's good. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. Yeah. Yes, all of them have been. 8.4, place-based community development program for Fawkner. That's you again, Councillor Bolton. And Councillor Iwasaki to second. Thank you, Councillor.
So this is, I've actually slightly revised the wording of this. I've added an extra point and an extra couple of words. Yeah, beautiful, thank you. I just thought, especially given the speakers we've had today, it would be worth noting the success of the place-based community outreach project, which has been a Fawkner pilot program, which has been focused on developing sustainable communities and climate resilient communities, and especially amongst people who might not have an engagement with council or very rarely have an engagement with council in disadvantaged and multicultural communities. So I think that project has had a spin-off, and so it is a shame that that's not being continued. So the point 2 of my motion is calling for a report on an expanded place-based community development program for Fawkner, which includes possible objectives, scope and cost implications. And the extra wording I added was to give a nod to considering some of the work that's already being done around sustainable communities, because I think it would be good to have some continuity between what's been happening, the place-based community outreach project that's been happening, and something new, if that is what the report recommends. And I just think this is really important, because if we're going to be able to meet our sustainability targets and zero carbon targets, we need to involve different parts of the community, including disadvantaged parts of the community, so that you don't have to be a scientist to understand all of these issues. You can, be all sorts of different people. And I think that has been really effective in Fawkner and Glenroy. And, I'd like to see something like this continue into the future.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Councillor Iwasaki.
I'll just add, thank you, Councillor Bolton. And on the Environmental Sustainability Advisory Committee, we've heard about how much success there's been in Fawkner in terms of bringing environmental awareness or involvement, really, from communities that traditionally haven't been thought to be involved, or traditionally just haven't had that background. And that's really important to us, and it's really important that we are able to support these communities, or every community really, in terms of climate resilience and where people are especially vulnerable.
Thank you, Councillor Iwasaki. Are there other councillors who would like to speak? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. And so I need an extension of time because we're actually not done. Councillor Svensson and Councillor Miles. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried. And then notices of rescission, none. Foreshadowed items, none. Urgent business, none. I'll close the meeting to the public and say goodnight to Nick. Thank you, Nick. Actually, I need a mover to close I need a motion. So Councillor Iwasaki and Councillor Davidson, put that to the vote and declare that carried. And I can thank all of those watching on live streaming for your interest in council matters, and wish you all a good night, and declare the council meeting closed to the public.